All right. Well, good evening and welcome. Bienvenidos. Tenemos un traductor allá atrás. Si alguien quiere escuchar la reunión en español, por favor, comuníquese con las señoras atrás. We have an interpreter at the back. If anyone would like to hear the meeting in Spanish, please head back and get a headset. Tonight is the first of 2 nights that we have set aside to hear from the community on the Capital Improvements Program, CIP. If needed, however, we will have a 3rd hearing on Tuesday, November 12, 2024. Tonight's hearing will also be broadcast live on television and MCPS Media. As always, board members are looking forward to both hearing and thoughtfully considering your input as we prepare to review and take action on the CIP. Before we begin, I will ask board members to introduce themselves. Dr. Taylor is also here with us this evening, and we have several MCPS staff members joining us in person. Mr. Sivarna.
Good afternoon. Pranil Sivarna, student member of the board.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Smondrowski, District 2, and I just wanted to let people know that I very much appreciate you all being here. I have a previous work engagement that I'm going to be needing to leave early for, but I will be following along online.
Good evening, everyone. Lynn Harris. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an at-large member of the board.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Grace Rivera Oven, District 1.
Good evening, Julie Yang, District 3. It's great to see you all here tonight.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Brenda Wolf, District 5. Sorry I couldn't be there with you, but I am listening. I'm a little bit under the weather. Thanks for coming.
Dr. Taylor, would you like to introduce your team?
Thank you, Madam President. Over here on our right-hand side, my right and the auditorium's left is Miss Edwards. She is the Chief of District Operations, followed by our Acting Chief Financial Officer, Miss Yvonne Alfonso Windsor. Go ahead. Sorry.
Robin O'Hara.
Yeah, Robin O'Hara from our facilities team, and Adnan Mamoon, who is our deputy chief from our facilities team, and DJ Connolly from our facilities team. We also
beyond the pillar.
Beyond the pillar. We have a couple of folks who are also representing the academic side of the shop as well. We have Stephanie Sharon, who's our chief of strategic initiatives, and Peggy Pugh, who is our chief academic officer, and our director of communications, Chris Cram.
Thank you for that. The order of speakers for tonight is listed on the agenda that is available on the board's website. Board members will have the opportunity to hear from the community via in-person testimony or by audio or video presentations. Written testimony of those who signed up for tonight's hearing has been made available to the public and for the board members to review on our website in Board Docs. The board will then take action on the superintendent's recommended FY 2026 capital budget and amendments on Thursday, November 21st, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Let's begin with our speakers who are here with us in person. Starting with the first 6 speakers, please come up to the microphones. When your name is called, please push the flat button below the microphone to turn it on and begin speaking. Push the same button once more at the sound of the red buzzer to turn it off. Please speak clearly and directly into the microphone. In addition to our in-person speakers, we also received video testimony for today. We will begin with our in-person speakers first. So if we could get our first 6 speakers to please come forward, and I will call your name. Our first speaker is Mayor Monique Ashton. Our second speaker is Oliver Glenn. Third is Ella Kim. Fourth is Joy Riba. Fifth is Alba Costara. And 6th is Camila Retta. Please come forward. Mayor Ashton, you may begin.
Good evening, President Silvestre and members of the board, as well as staff.
I am Rockville Mayor Monique Ashton, and I speak on behalf of our entire council. We appreciate the ongoing work of the Board of Education and Superintendent to bring critical capital improvement projects to clusters serving Rockville students. We want to speak specifically about the number of aging facilities that we have within Rockville schools. While we are thankful that the board approved the major capital project for the Twinbrook Elementary School, we are concerned that the recommended CIP moves $3 million in out years of expenditures to other projects and delays construction funds and the completion date for the consideration in a future CIP. Our council and community have strongly advocated for the urgent needs of this underserved community for 15 years. It's a matter of equity and inclusion that this school be completely rebuilt. It was constructed in 1952. The facility is not ADA compliant and lacks decent space for specialists to provide individualized care. We need a replacement of 2 broken water fountains as soon as possible. They're the school's only source of drinking water. And we also ask for a repair of the school's welcome sign. Twinbrook students, families, and teachers deserve a newly renovated facility that will enable them to reach their full potential. In our Richmond-Montgomery cluster as well, Richmond-Montgomery High School needs funding for approved swipe pad access to the school security system. There are a couple of schools within this cluster who do have these kinds of security concerns. We also advocate for the installation of a permanent ceiling projector in the auditorium to provide an in-house connection for plugging and streaming presentations important for learning. At Julius West, we request restroom renovations to install electric touchless hand dryers in the bathrooms, as well as at Bell Elementary School, that swipe pad access to security system is also needed for 2 exterior doors. There are more detailed notes on these in my written testimony, which has been emailed to you. At Ritchie Park, we request additional access cameras to cover blind spots in the school's interior, and Bayard Rustin, even though it's a new school, is already having HVAC issues. We hope that there's a warranty that can be activated. We also request outdoor water fountains to serve students during recess. Wooten High School is something you've heard me testify many, many times before. We are exceedingly concerned that all planning construction funds and the August 2029 construction completion date were removed from the adopted CIP. There are dedicated Instagram accounts looking at all the issues with this school. It is very old and dilapidated. We do appreciate some of the short-term measures to improve ADA safety issues. However, there's so many more to address. We also ask that the board meet with the community to discuss phase 2 of the project, which would shift the bus driveway to the upper parking lot and maintain the August 2025 completion date. There are schools that are not necessarily within Rockville, but I do want to mention support for Cold Spring Dufeef Elementary School, as well as Woodward High School. In terms of Meadow Hall, we do appreciate some of the work to improve the security door, but we do ask for fencing. They have had some issues recently with break-ins, and they need some fencing along the back. And then we also ask for timely completion of Gaithersburg's middle school capital project to renovate the 64-year-old facility. There's also an opportunity beyond the schools that we're thinking through. We do appreciate that within Rockville and our historically Black community, MCPS has moved nearly 100 dilapidated trailers that have been in the community for decades. We thank you for that. We ask that you continue to work with the County and Housing Opportunities Commission and partners to implement a solution to address the inequity of this blighted project, as well as the historic African-American Lincoln Park community. We support implementation of the Stone Street Master Plan to support workforce housing and housing for teachers. I think this is a bright spot that we can correct inequities of the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver, you may begin.
Imagine every day you start your day by walking into a small park with big old trees casting shadows onto a cracked and lumpy sidewalk and patchy grass. You walk past an ancient sign with chipped paint, then you look one way. There is a small, always damp bench under a tree. You look the other way. There is a blacktop area with cracks from where the roots of trees have pushed it up. There is some playground equipment meant for smaller children that is old, worn, and sparse. You walk past this toward doors darkened by shade beyond some trash cans. Is this how you would want to start your day? This park I just described is in fact the front of our school, Field Yard Elementary. My name is Oliver Glenn, and I am a 5th grader at Fresh, where I have been since 1st grade. I am on safety patrol, and I care about making our school a more welcoming place for all of the kids who will come to this school after me. To do that, I'm going to use a word that we use, Riz, which means charisma. We would like MCPS to help Rizify the front of our school and outdoor space to make them inviting and safe, while also helping to build pride in our school and students. Now here's the part the adults put in. Studies show that students take pride in spaces that have curb appeal. In fact, the National Center for Education Statistics has shown that the physical condition of school buildings, including the exterior and landscape, is linked to students' academic achievement, attendance, student pride, and community morale. Our school has not been Rizified in a very, very long time. When I see other schools like Rachel Carson, which is right down the road from Fields Road, or newer schools around us, I wonder why we can't have that too. Makes it so some neighborhoods are allowed to have schools with curb appeal, and others haven't been updated since the 1900s. And giving our school a makeover by making small changes like improving the sign, adding fence covers that show our Falcon pride, maybe adding some bushes, flowers, fruit trees, or a community garden. You could help make this a school where students actually want to be. We know that other changes like fixing the blacktop area and playground, adding in benches, picnic tables, or even fun stuff like chess or checkers tables may cost more money, but investment in our school is worth it. We want it to be a place that positively impacts our whole community further. We're supposed to have an outdoor classroom spaces, and while we have some spaces with plants, they're unusable as classrooms because they do not have seating, tables, or resources for our teachers to actually use them as a classroom. Some seating options like stones or cushions and tables could help us have spaces for outdoor science lessons, reading, or other lessons. We need your help to do that. A well-designed outdoor space at a school is a valuable extension of the classroom, playground, and the community. By prioritizing our Rizification project, you can help us have outdoor areas that support our learning and development in meaningful ways, that build a sense of pride. With a little creativity and planning, our outdoor spaces could be cherished in every environment with Sigma Riz
Thank you.
for many years to come. Thank you for consideration in Rizifying our school.
Thank you. Ella? Good job.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for listening to us speak about capital improvements we would like to see happen at Fields Road Elementary School. My name is Ella Kim, and I'm the Student Government President. I'm here to talk about one of the big improvements that will serve the next generation of students in our school. I know that it is something that brings joy and excitement to our students every single day. The school playground. As we all know, play is an important part of our growth and development, but our playground is starting to show its age and could really use an expansion and some updates. I've seen other school playgrounds that are inviting, modern, and have equipment that is appropriate for all students. Investing in a new playground would not only benefit our students, but would also enhance our entire school community. Here are some reasons why updating our playground is so important. First, a larger updated playground would encourage physical fitness. I know that it is easier for us to stay indoors with our screens, but a playground provides a space for us to run, climb, and play in ways that support our health. If we could add more climbing structures, slides, and interactive areas, it would help build strong bodies and good habits for a lifetime. Secondly, a new playground would support social development and teamwork. A well-designed playground gives us opportunities to play together and build friendships. Investing in an imagination playground set where we can build together would mean that kids can choose different activities, work on group play, and learn valuable skills like sharing, communicating, and problem solving. Expanding and updating our playground would also make it more inclusive and accessible for all students. Right now, some of our equipment isn't accessible to students with physical disabilities, which means that some kids are left out of the fun. By designing a playground that is accessible to everyone, we can create a space where all students can play together. We'd love to add ramps, ground level play areas, and sensory features to ensure that every child feels included and valued. Finally, a modern expanded playground will foster pride in a school and community. When we feel proud of our school, it has a positive impact on our learning and engagement. An improved playground can even serve as a community space for families and neighbors come together to enjoy time outside, strengthening the bond between our school and the community. To summarize, expanding and updating our playground is an investment to our students' health, happiness, and success. A safe, accessible, and engaging playground supports physical health, encourages friendships, builds confidence, and creates a welcoming environment for all. With your support, we can create a playground that brings joy and inspiration to our students for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy, you may begin.
Hello, members of the board and council members. When was the last time you walked into Magruder High School and thought, this looks like a nice school? My name is Joy Viba. I'm a junior at Magruder, and I'm the SGA secretary. We are here today to discuss the safety and security concerns at Magruder High School, especially the broken chairs. It's one of the biggest problems that we have that impacts us all the time, every day. It's unsafe for students to be sitting in these chairs, making for a bad learning environment and making students unmotivated to come to school and participate. I've been at Magruder for 3 years, and I know from experience that when the metal of the chairs rusts and breaks, it can cut and poke into your skin when you're trying to sit in them. So not only are the chairs uncomfortable, they are causing harm to students. Imagine walking into your first period class first thing in the morning, smelling the musty air because of our bad HVAC system that you have just become accustomed to. You're being guided by the dim and dreary hallways because some of the lights are out, and you finally get to class and you have to carefully sit in your squeaky chair so you don't disturb everyone else trying to finish before class. If you don't sit carefully, all the broken and jagged pieces will dig and stab into your legs and sides. That does not sound like an enjoyable experience and is definitely not how I want to start my day. I remember multiple times this year I've asked someone how they've gotten a cut or a scrape at field hockey practice, and they've said it's because some part of the metal of the desk they've been sitting in was sticking out and poked into them. That should not be a conversation that I've had, and should definitely not be a conversation I've had more than once just this year, showing that this is a real problem that definitely needs to be fixed. Learning and making the school supportive of students' futures should be the county's first priority, but we are not seeing that reflected in our school building. Students need to sit in these chairs for 45 minutes, 7 times a day, and if they are broken and uncomfortable, it makes it hard to focus and learn, which should be priorities. I'm here sitting and looking at all you guys in these comfortable chairs and wondering how much more productive I could be at school if I was motivated to learn in my environment. It is imperative that the renovation date of our school gets pushed up and not cut, as Magruder desperately needs to be redone for the safety and students of our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Alba Costara, you may begin.
Good afternoon, members of the board and council members. My name is Alba Costara. I'm a senior at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I'm also our SJ Vice President and our PTSA Student Vice President. Today I'm here to discuss our school's safety and security concerns. Imagine a school where every student feels safe and secure, not just academically, but as individuals ready to face the future. Today, I stand before you to turn that vision into a reality, because the success of our students is not just a priority, it's our shared responsibility, and the current state of Magruder is not meeting these adequate standards to foster our success. Magruder, despite being on the smaller side, is still a relatively large building with only 2 elevators on either side of the building. Currently, one is out of service, and both are rarely reliable. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, despite showing signs that they work on the outside. As someone with a variety of health issues has been on crutches for months at a time, having inconsistently working elevators has personally affected my everyday life. Imagine my return to school after just getting surgery, my leg in agonizing pain, and I'm crutching through the halls with my backpack in tow. I arrive at the elevator, exhausted and sweaty. I put my elevator key into the port, eager to get a reprieve from moving around. I wait, and no elevator arrives. After waiting for what feels like an eternity, I give up waiting and need to get to class. I need to crutch back across the entire building to the supposedly working elevator. Again, the same issue. At this point, it had been 10 minutes, and I needed to get to class. My only resort was the stairs, something unsafe that I should not have required to do. I should have access to a working elevator, just as every student should. Our parking lot is in disarray. Our parking lot is filled with holes, cracks, and potholes, surrounded by crumpling edges and puddles, and this is a testament to what feels like years of neglect. The uneven terrain, faded lines, and weeds make parking difficult for students and teachers, making the simple act a daunting challenge. Our poorly maintained parking lot has led to safety hazards, vehicle damage, accessibility issues, aesthetic concerns, traffic flow issues, and environmental concerns. as cause trips, falls, and damage to vehicles, causing costly repairs. It is unsafe to be tripping on our way into the building due to the lack of repairs on our parking lot. Our neglectful parking lot has created a negative first impression and a lack of school pride. Practical implications have included traffic congestion, parking space availability, and water accumulation. Environmentally, it has caused flooding, and having to maneuver this parking lot every day, especially on rainy days, is stressful and overwhelming. These are only two issues among the many that we have. We are talking about safety and security in our school. We are talking about the well-being of our people, our students, and our staff members. We deserve to feel safe and secure in our learning environment and need to have Magruder moved up in the renovation timeline. Thank you.
Camila Retta, you may begin.
When parents, students, or community members enter our school, they're expected to check in by turning left at the entrance. However, after check-in, they must exit the small vestibule, turn right, and walk across the lobby to reach either the main or attendance office. While our security team and administrative staff work tirelessly to ensure our school safety, the layout of our school entrance leaves about 300 feet where someone who hasn't been properly checked could walk through unchecked. This isn't a hypothetical concern. Last year alone, nearly 200 incidents of gun violence occurred in U.S. schools. Tragically, this resulted in 43 deaths and 96 injuries, impacting students, staff, and community members nationwide. We cannot afford to ignore these risks until something tragic happens here as well. Yes, we recently got a new security office, but it's located near the main office, leaving our school with a critical blind spot. Imagine if someone with harmful intent or even an armed individual slipped past this gap. We've seen far too often how quickly things can escalate in schools across the country. As Ms. Thomas, our principal, often says, that's on her. But today, I challenge all of us to consider this. If something were to happen, it's not just on her. It's on all of us, including the board, which has the power to make these essential changes. We need more than just check-ins. We need visible, accessible safety measures to protect everyone who walks through our doors. Right now, our vestibule lacks a window, making it impossible to see what's going on from the inside. For years, we requested updates to this area. This marks at least the fourth year of raising the issue. But the urgency has grown. Schools without adequate security measures, like clearly marked entry points, are statistically less likely to be safe during emergencies. Beyond the vestibule, we also need more security cameras and potentially weapon detectors to ensure safety during high-attendance events. Quince Orchard hosts a large amounts of gatherings whether it's our incredible theater performances or our legendary football games. Our events draw hundreds of community members, alumni, family, and friends. With larger events comes greater risk, and we need to be proactive, not reactive, in addressing these vulnerabilities. Our school is a community space, a safe haven for education, growth, and gathering. But without the board's support in updating our security cameras, detectors, and better designed security vestibule, how safe can we really say we are? The safety of our community shouldn't be an afterthought. These upgrades aren't just about reducing risks, they're about preserving our sense of security so that students, staff, and community members alike can continue to feel safe in a space that brings us all together. So we ask for your support in upgrading our security measures to truly make Quince Orchard a place where everyone, students, families, teachers, and visitors can feel safe and protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for your testimony. Now we'll ask our next 6 speakers to please come forward. Caroline Rudman, Sydney Suss, Elise Bradley, Elise Mets, Justin Tom, and Lea Shadid. Did I do that right? Yeah. Caroline Rudman, you may begin.
Dear members of the board and council members, good evening. My name is Caroline Rudman, and I am in 11th grade at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I am testifying to discuss the safety and security of our school. Ever since my freshman year, there have been constant issues with the structure and security of our school. Building, pipe bursts, gas leaks, moldy ceilings, broken AC, and much more. However, perhaps the most shocking of all was my firsthand experience facing severe issues within our auditorium. I've been a proud member of our drama program at Magruder for the past 3 years. Although it has provided me with many rewarding experiences and friendships, I've had disgusting and frankly disappointing incidents in the auditorium. You would assume that because so many students use it year-round, it should be up to code and promote the health and safety of students. That is not the case. One day during rehearsal, my friend and I walked down to the cramped pit below the stage where the band played during the show. We were about to head out when my friend said, "What's that?" He was looking to the corner next to his drum set in the very back of the pit. Stepping closer, we discovered it was a dead mouse that had been in the pit for who knows how long. However, no one was surprised by this. Rats and mice were a prevailing issue within our music department, as many have been seen dead or hiding within the band closet or choir room. Our school building is so old that cracks within the walls allow these animals to come in and make their homes, completely unaware that this is a place of education and not an old broken down house, although at this point it's difficult to tell the difference. Along with this issue comes the loft that is used to store props and set pieces. Lots of people use the props loft, especially during plays and musicals. The stairs, however, are steep and twist tightly around a singular rusted pole. When going up the staircase, especially when carrying props, it is impossibly difficult. Near the top, you find yourself face to face with no railing and an accident waiting to happen. The loft itself has only 2 side railings which protect students from imminent danger, which are also rusted and not supportive. The loft is a huge part of the auditorium and stage, and without proper support or renovations to it, students are in danger of falling, injuries, and lightheadedness from the dust in the loft. Having unsafe conditions such as these is extremely harmful to students. Rodents combined with unsafe structural elements lead students to be distracted, on edge, and feel unsafe. Solving this would ensure their safety and comfort. Magruder desperately needs renovations to its auditorium. Not only is the drama program negatively affected, but everyone who uses the auditorium. It's crucial to ensure the safety of students by actually committing to renovations, not just mentioning them. Setting aside our needs as a school has gone on long enough. Magruder's renovation date is now to be determined after being moved back time and time again, which is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that students have to discover dead, mummified animals within their workspace. It is unacceptable that students risk their safety trying to do an activity they enjoy. It is unacceptable that after numerous emails and letters from Magruder students themselves, we are still ignored. Change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. We deserve respect from the board, not ignorance. Thank you for your time.
Sydney Suss, you may begin.
Good evening, members of the board and council members. My name is Sydney Suss, and I am in 11th grade at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I am speaking to you to discuss the safety and security of our school. I'm here tonight to request that the board and council members create a safer parking lot for students at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I'm here tonight because while I may not get the opportunity to experience a better version of Magruder High School, I hope that the future students of the school will have the opportunity that I did not receive. I will be discussing the danger that the student parking lot poses towards students and faculty. I will explain to you the risks and explain how the poor condition of the parking lot affects students and faculty at Magruder High School. This topic is an issue because it is extremely dangerous and difficult to get out of the parking lot after school through the exit. There is no light and no crossing guard or security helping. To make a left turn out of the parking lot, you have to be able to see if cars are coming from the left, which is almost impossible because the cars and buses block your view. There are 2 lanes to get out, the left turn and the right turn lane. An issue that I have noticed with this is students who park on the side closest to the building try to get out through the right lane. This means they have to cut through the cars trying to make a left, and it poses a danger to the cars on the right who are trying to leave as well. I've also noticed cars making a right turn out of the left lane when it specifically says no right turn. Cars fight trying to get out, bumper to bumper. It is very scary as a new driver to get out of the parking lot, which applies to many students. A stoplight or crossing guard, which most schools have, would fix this problem. The drainage is also non-existent. In my own experience, on rainy days, I will walk into school with my shoes and pants soaking wet at the bottom because it is impossible to walk into the building without stepping in at least one puddle. It is annoying and uncomfortable to keep facing this problem multiple times a year. This negatively affects my school experience along with many other students I have talked to about this issue. Students have to rush out of school in order to try and drive out before all cars fight to get out. It is very stressful and makes students anxious, which impacts students' overall learning, especially towards the end of the day. Imagine you just got your license. You drive to school the next day and the bell rings to leave. You get in your car and have to face the crowds of cars trying to get out. When your school has different issues daily, doing what is meant to be done in school is one of the most impossible tasks to complete. For many, school is also their escape. I have been a student at Magruder High School for 3 years. Each year, this issue, along with many others, have not improved. It is hard when no matter how much you advocate for the safety and comfort of you and your peers, your voices are not heard. Being a junior in high school is hard enough. But when the condition of your school is falling apart, having leaks, and overall is not safe for students, it can impact your learning immensely. If these problems are fixed, Magruder High School will have a safer and more successful learning environment. Board members, after hearing this, I hope when you think about Magruder High School and pushing back the CIP date, I hope you think about the 1,000+ students who are suffering from it. I hope you realize that the learning environment for Magruder students is unfair and unsafe and needs to be changed immediately. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Elise Bradley, you may begin.
Members of the Board of Education and special guests, my name is Elise Bradley, and I am a junior at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I am here to share the dire need for improvements to our athletic field. I am a 3-sport varsity athlete at Magruder and have played countless scrimmages and games, both soccer and lacrosse, on our athletic field, and I have had a subpar experience in doing so. I am sure you have heard the phrase home field advantage. Anytime there's a game played at Magruder on our athletic field, there is without a doubt home field advantage. It is unfortunately not because of our roaring crowds or our familiarity with the environment we are in. It is knowing that the ball will go out if it is anywhere near the sideline because there's no grass there. It is knowing that if you do not watch where you run, you will fall. It is knowing that the field is in no way flat and that even just trying to keep the ball in place, it will roll in ways you do not want it to. What I am saying is this: sports are not always the safest, but our fields definitely do not have to contribute. Our athletic field, our field that all our JV and varsity sports play on, is ruined beyond our control. There are dips in it and patches of dirt that are unable to be fixed. This should not be accepted. By keeping our field the way it is asking for injuries. It is very easy, and happens often, to trip in one of the divots while trying to run or play. This causes more chances for injury than necessary, increasing our likelihood to have players out and in pain when it could so easily be avoided. Furthermore, our field quality makes for a lot of rescheduled games when there is even a little bit of rain because the field gets so muddy. This makes for rescheduled games we have to miss school for or have back-to-back games or even 3 games in a week, which is not good for us physically or mentally as it puts a lot of stress on us. Yes, I have felt this stress firsthand. I want to see something different when we play sports on the field. I want to see pride. I want to see you caring about the safety of the students in your county. We may be small in number, just more than 1,600 students in a school system with more than 160,000, but that does not mean we do not matter. I'm not asking for turf. I'm just asking for an improvement to the current state of our field. Although I know an athletic field at one of the 26 high schools in the county is not your priority, but safety and mental health should be. We should not wait until someone has a serious injury from falling on our field to make change. We should not wait until it gets worse and there is no good playing field at all. There is nothing more we can do at Magruder. Only you have the power to make change, and we want to see it in action. Thank you.
Thank you. Elise Mets.
Good evening, members of the board and staff. My name is Elise Mets, and I am a senior at Magruder High School. I'm here today to discuss the safety and security of our school. I want to start by asking you a few questions. Were you a student athlete when you were in high school? Do you have kids that are current student athletes? Do you know anyone who is a student athlete? If the answer to any of these is yes, then you need to be listening. I am here to tell you that we need new athletic fields installed at our school. I am a student athlete who plays lacrosse and who has played numerous games on the stadium fields. The fields at our school are awful. My teammates and I cannot get through a single practice without either falling or twisting our ankles because we stepped in a ditch. When playing a game in the stadium, the lights don't work very well, so we are either playing in the pitch black or we are getting blinded by the lights are too bright. The field isn't straight, so the ball rolls when it is supposed to be still, and I twist my ankle at every single game. The majority of the student population at Magruder is student athletes. First off, athletes are consistently getting injured due to the conditions of our practice fields, and the athletes who don't get hurt at practice get hurt in a game on our stadium field. Playing a home game is supposed to give that school home advantage, meaning that they play best on our own field. But for the athletes at Magruder, including myself, home advantage simply does not exist because there's no advantage of playing on a slanted field with no working lights that is covered in holes, dirt, and ditches. Because of the awful conditions of our field, games are consistently being canceled and rescheduled, resulting in athletes playing back-to-back games 3 to 4 times a week. Not only is this bad for our health, but it adds unnecessary stress because playing 4 games in 5 days is simply not good for us. Studies show that student athletes are good students. We statistically have higher grades, better scores, a higher GPA, and are more likely to go to college. High schools should strive to have more student athletes, but because of our field conditions at Magruder, students are not excited to be athletes. To conclude, the students at Magruder deserve better. I deserve better. I am tired of having a disadvantage in my sport simply because I'm a student at Magruder. I would like to leave you with a question. If your own child went to Magruder, would you honestly be able to say that you are proud of what the fields look like? The Board of Education always says they treat their schools as equals, so you need to start proving it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Justin Tom, may we begin?
Good evening, members of the board and council members. My name is Justin Tom, and I'm in 11th grade at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I'm here to discuss the safety and security of our school and give you all insight into Magruder's inferior facility conditions. Per statewide regulation, we are in school for 180 days. 180 days of mice, mold, moldy ceilings, and underfunding if you are a Magruder student. As a school facility, Magruder's conditions do not provide a safe or healthy learning environment for students, ultimately affecting our ability to thrive as a successful academic product of Montgomery County. Magruder deserves a definitive scheduled spot on the CIP, evidenced by our various school issues. When I entered our music suite over the summer, my face was met with disgust as I saw a dead mouse. Their shriveled, grim, gray mouse reminded me of Magruder, neglected and left to rot. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, rodents spread more than 35 diseases. Mice can carry diseases and contaminate surfaces, increasing the risk of illness. Along with our little critter friends, many of our ceiling tiles have an explosion of mildew and decay, a blotched and sickly brown mold. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, mold exposure can irritate the eyes, skin, nose, throat, and lungs of both mold-allergic and non-allergic people. These risks of mice and mold mean our students are in danger of sickness. The mold and mice create a daily environment that feels unhealthy, neglected, and stressful. The constant presence of mold in classrooms and bathrooms makes us anxious about our health. This lack of upkeep due to the lack of funding directly affects how safe, respected, and focused we feel in our educational environment. Our supportive educational space should not become a hazardous waste bucket. Seeing mice and dealing with moldy conditions in a place meant for learning sends a message that my school is not valued or maintained well, especially compared to more advantaged schools. Speaking of other schools, Whitman and Churchill have a predominantly white population with a total economically disadvantaged population percentage of 10%, and Magruder has a majority Hispanic population with a 51% total economically disadvantaged percentage. Isn't it ironic how those W schools have adequate funding and renovation, and Magruder is nowhere close? How does that provide equity to our school? Rather, this disparity perpetuates a further demographical disadvantage in accessibility. Considering our struggles, we should have priority of funding, and yet where is it? Policy ACA Article C, Section 6B, Part 2 states, MCPS will work to identify and address structural and institutional barriers that could prevent students from equitably accessing educational opportunities in all schools. Despite years of consistent testifying from us displaying the multitude of our issues, I have yet to see a diffusion of this policy statement at Magruder. Safety and security at our school are at serious risk. Our infrastructure, school environment, and funding are crumbling, denying a sense of security and safety among students. Magruder's version of CIP is more like TBD. If our neglect within the CIP continues, we at least deserve funding to fix these critical issues. Our students deserve a safe, secure, healthy, and equitable learning environment, not a deep down deteriorated dump.
Thank you. Lea Shadid, you may begin.
Members of the board and staff, I am Lea Shadid, an 11th grader at Magruder High School. I'm writing to you to discuss the safety and security of our school. Hot air leaks, mold throughout the ceilings, no heat, no drainage, and no available feminine hygiene products, among other unavailable necessities. What does this really sound like? A jail? Hell? Nope, it's Magruder High School. Whenever a common phrase repeated by countless students at Magruder is only in Magruder. Whenever a gas leak happens or we see mold or our ceilings falling apart, we laugh about it because it's all we've known. It's been so normalized to see our school fall apart when unfortunately our day-to-day site continues to stay like this when authorities that should be using their power for us continue to waste time and push us back. Let's dial in on one of just many issues, our heating and cooling systems. How students feel during their classes majorly affects how they learn and process information. When someone is cold, their body is focused on bringing their system back to normal, which gives the student a distracted and uncomfortable feeling. How could someone read through passages or answer questions quickly when they can't be calm or focused? If it's hot in a classroom, it's almost impossible for a student to bring themselves to a collected state that doesn't distract them from fanning themselves so they don't overheat, not just from the stress of the day, but the unreasonable temperatures. I recall sitting in English class, and as soon as I walked in, I was majorly overwhelmed with a hot burst of incredibly humid air that immediately created a negative environment in my class that I genuinely didn't have the energy to be in. I could feel the sweat in my palms, which I had to wipe every 2 seconds so that I could write normally with my pencil, and I pulled the classroom fan, which was brought in by our teacher rather than what should have been supported by the school, and pulled open all the windows. The entire class, all I focused on was receiving cool air and barely focused on the task I had that day. It's shocking to see that an underpaid teacher could care so immensely about her students' comfort to accommodate a simple amenity more than our school board, who should have made that their top priority. Let me ask you, do you have children? If you do, you'd understand the importance of your child going to a school that cares for them. Some parents here are advocating for their kids at Magruder and wish to have the power that people like you hold in your seats. You have been privileged enough to gain this spot on the board, so please take advantage of it for the safety and security of our Magruder students. The continuous promise to our school and students is slowly feeling less and less like a promise with every setback that comes our way and every added day to the potential accidents that could occur in our school. Many students and I at Magruder ask for our renovations to be kept as promised and put as a priority as we are told we are meant to be, not just, and if not for us, for the future students at our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. We could get our next 5 speakers to please come forward. Mamed Bangura, Rosemary Perler, Michael Ganon, and Phoebe Camille Dela. Oh, I'm sorry, those are videos. Avery Ganon will be our last video. So Mamed Bangura, you may begin.
Good afternoon, members of the board.
Just press the microphone.
Sorry. Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Mamed Bangura, and I'm a junior at Magruder High School and class of 2026 SGA member. I'm here to discuss the safety and security concerns of Magruder High School. In my 3rd year at Magruder High School, I can't help but take notice of the quality of our stadium field. Having spoken to multiple athletes at Magruder High School, we have come together to agree that the stadium field used to host games is unacceptable to play on. Our biggest complaint coming from student athletes at Magruder High School and other schools playing on our field are the constant comments about the field and its horrible conditions. Looking at the Bermuda field from all angles, there are visible ditches of dirt and patches of grass all over the field. On rainy days, the field is mushy and muddy, and on hot, dry days, the field is hardened and dusty. The point of this is that the field is unsafe for any athlete to play on and increases the risk of injuries. This negatively impacts high school athletes, as Magruder student athletes aren't the only people who play on the field. The risk of other students from other schools playing on Magruder Stadium field can also impact how they play and alter their playing style. Students are in greater danger of injuries that may result in being out of their sport for a long period of time or surgery. Athletes need safe and stable fields to play their sport on. At Magruder High School, the stadium field has to be constantly repainted and altered for each sport. The damage made by sports like field hockey can be a problem for soccer players, as the field is hit repeatedly with their sticks, causing ditches and damaging the grass that alters how the ball moves in soccer. In my experience, playing on Magruder Stadium field last year was tragic. As a solution to the field, after a couple of rainy days, sand was placed into the large water-filled ditches in the field, which have negatively impacted my performance and my team's performance on the field. This year, I have torn my ACL and will be returning to sports next year. Currently, I don't feel safe about playing on Magruder's Bermuda field, which will likely increase my risk of re-injury. The field needs to go under renovation and be placed with a turf field immediately. Athletes cannot keep playing in terrible field conditions that endanger their safety. As previously mentioned, I'm in rehab for my knee and don't feel safe or comfortable playing on the field that could re-tear my ACL. As I watch my teammates play on our field, I am fearful that they can be injured due to the field conditions. Please consider replacing our Bermuda field with a turf field to keep your student athletes across Montgomery County safe and protected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rosemary Perler, you may begin.
Good evening. My name is Rosemary Perler, and I am the Vice President of Student Government at Fields Road Elementary School, and I'm here to talk about something that affects all of us, our school's environment, specifically our restrooms and cafeteria, spaces that are often overlooked but are actually extremely important to creating a safe and positive environment. While we know this isn't a simple ask, in both spaces we are hoping to improve lighting and flooring, add new fixtures, update the design, and improve accessibility. We would like improved lighting and flooring to make things feel more bright, positive, and relaxed. Improved lighting and flooring would also improve visibility and safety, as well as making places like the cafeteria easier for staff to monitor. New efficient sinks, toilets, and hand dryers support better hygiene practices, which is crucial in elementary schools where younger students are still developing habits around cleanliness. Upgraded fixtures make it easier for students to wash their hands properly, reducing the spread of germs and helping keep the school community healthier. The bathrooms are places students visit multiple times a day, and having clean, modern fixtures creates a more welcoming and respectful atmosphere in these places. Giving a fresh, updated look to a school can have a huge impact
on students. Students deserve a cafeteria that looks more modern than it did 50 years ago. Studies show that redesigning spaces creates a welcoming atmosphere, improves behavior, encourages unity and school spirit, and reflects modern standards. Redesigning school bathrooms for accessibility is key to ensuring that students who have disabilities, identify as transgender, or just want a private moment feel comfortable and supported in the school environment. In addition to ensuring that our bathrooms meet ADA considerations, we also need improved privacy. Nobody likes feeling like others can see them through the cracks in the stalls while they need private moments, and bathroom designs have been modernized enough to provide both safe and private bathrooms that are accessible for all. By making these improvements, we're investing in students like me. We want them to know that their comfort, health, and happiness matter. With a clean and welcoming environment, we students can focus more on what truly matters, our learning and growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Ganon, you may begin.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Taylor. My name is Michael Ganon, and I am a current junior at Magruder High School. I'm speaking today to highlight the quality of infrastructure currently existing at Magruder and its impact on the safety and security of our school and community. Last school year, the board approved money for new HVAC systems instead of providing the much-needed funding to Wooten and Magruder High Schools for infrastructure improvements. The need for a new building and facilities does not stem from a purely aesthetic reason. The ignorance of deteriorating infrastructure and the decline in facility quality disrupts the day-to-day operations and livelihood of our community. One such example is our athletic field, which serves hundreds of athletes and coaching staff throughout the year. Riddled with holes and divots, discolored and dead grass, and in uneven terrain, Magruder's grass field injures many athletes throughout the year, resulting in increased medical expenses and time off from the sport, which can negatively impact individual and team prospects. As an athlete member of the soccer team myself, I find the field to be deceiving and unsafe. Home games can become stressful. This year, in a game against Damascus, I almost strained my thigh and groin, slipping on a hole near the sidelines whilst playing defense. Last year, for senior night, the holes on the field were filled with sand. Thought to be a quick and easy fix, the uneven ground and slickness of the sand proved to be a detriment as our team struggled to get used to it. You can ask our trainer how many injuries we had that night. As a soccer player, personally, I'm always in favor of a well-kept grass field instead of a turf field. However, in the event that the quality cannot be maintained and instead leads to severe and frequent injury, my opinion changes. Therefore, it is time the playing field is evened, literally. Other schools enjoy turf fields funded by outside soccer clubs and the school board itself. How come our school cannot enjoy that same level of quality and safety? Over the summer, I had the opportunity to intern for the county council, where I was able to provide perspective on a discussion pertaining to the cost effectiveness and safety of turf fields over grass fields. And our group came to the conclusion that synthetic turf fields, those made from organic materials instead of rubber and plastic, were the most optimal solution due to increased safety, a decreased cost of maintenance, and an environmentally sustainable nature. Despite initial high installation costs, the lifetime cost of an artificial turf field is far less than that of its grass counterparts due to the decreased annual maintenance. This is supported by Safe Healthy Playing Fields, a field maintenance and installation organization, which found that the minimum annual maintenance cost of a grass field is $43,000 compared to the $23,000 of a turf field. Not only would a turf field be financially viable for students at Magruder and the county, it would also increase the safety of our student athletes. I urge you all to consider my testimony and the testimony provided by my peers tonight. Our school has long been overlooked, and we desire change to the resources that can no longer adequately serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is video testimony from Phoebe, Camille, Dela. Please play the video.
Dear members of the board and council members, my name is Phoebe Camille Dela, and I am an 11th grader at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I am here with you today to discuss the safety and security concerns at Magruder High School. Considered one of the richest counties in Maryland, it seems as though the state's Board of Education would utilize that privilege to distribute the money to all schools evenly, ensuring a quality and an appropriate building for learning for all students, regardless of what school they go to. However, the old building, which I call my school, has multiple safety hazards from areas that are too small, broken AC units and heaters, mold, faulty fire alarms, and more. As a cast member of the drama club, I have had countless shows and rehearsals in the auditorium of Magruder High School. There are multiple areas that we need in order to get props, costumes, makeup and hair, etc. One of these areas is the props loft right above the auditorium stage, which has steep spiraling stairs and is a tight area with a cage around it, which shows how dangerous it is because people will fall if there's no cage there. Not only is this dangerous, it also causes a lack of accessibility, as people who may be of larger size may find the steps too narrow to use safely. Whenever I get up to the props loft, I instantly begin coughing due to the large amounts of dust that is up there, which I am allergic to, as the props kept up there collect dust from how long they stay there, as there's no other place to store them. I see the cluttered objects on shelves and some on the floor because there's also not enough space to store them on the shelves. The other students that come up to this area clang the objects together, trying to search for specific props, and it takes them a while because there are mounds of props next to or on each other due to the lack of space. With a larger area built for the props loft, there would be enough space for people to walk without tripping and can find what they need without digging for objects. Furthermore, in classrooms, the AC or heater do not work properly. Students feel too cold or too warm while trying to learn and are distracted by the whirring of the machine. As a result of the uncomfortability in the area they are learning in, they cannot retain the knowledge that they are supposed to. My teachers have personal fans and blankets on hand for students because of how unpredictable these machines are. The broken machines cannot be controlled by the students nor the teachers, and we have to deal with the consequences of our school going from freezing cold in some classrooms to boiling hot in others. This impacts students' lives because when they switch between cold and hot areas, such as classrooms with broken ACs or heaters that they cannot fix, their bodies have a tough time adjusting to the temperature, which can cause sicknesses. I do not feel as safe as I should at a place of learning. This is where I spend most of my days, my second home where I should feel comfortable and safe. Safety is seen as one of the top necessities of a school, yet going to Magruder High School does not feel as though this is a priority, and the Board of Education does not acknowledge this. I understand the difficulties deciding funds for certain schools, but please acknowledge those who have been advocating for a change for years, because other schools that are more privileged continually receive funding for minuscule problems compared to ours. Thank you for taking your time to listen to this, and please ensure that you make careful considerations.
Thank you. And we'll hear from Avery Ganon. Please play the video.
Good evening, members of the board and council members. My name is Avery Ganon, and I am a junior at Colonel Zadok Magruder High School. I'm here tonight to discuss the safety and security of our school. Could you imagine the parking lot of your workplace playing into whether or not you get to work on time? Or worrying about your safety on a daily basis? For us students of Magruder High School, this is our reality. An urgent change needs to be made to separate the parent pickup and drop-off from the student parking lot. The combination of student parking and parent drop-off and pickup leaves our parking lot in a mess. One of the main issues regarding the parking lot is an overflow of traffic that occurs, which leads to student tardiness in the mornings. Another issue that needs to be addressed regarding the current student parking lot is the fact that parents feel the need to wait for their children in the line to leave the school. This blocks those who are ready to exit from leaving the parking lot. The third and final issue that needs to be addressed is the serious danger that is created by parents who turn out of the drop-off line and into the student parking lot without using their turn signals. Although it would be ideal to address all of the needs regarding the parking lot, the most important need concerns the safety of the students at our school. A change in the layout of the student parking lot or the separation of drop-off and pickup from student parking is our main concern. I have experienced the danger caused by our current parking lot a handful of times. To reflect on just one occurrence, one afternoon I walked out of school and made my way to my friend's car using the crosswalks marked on the ground. As I continued along the crosswalk, a parent leaving the pickup line sped in front of me, turning without using their turn signal. Luckily, I was not affected, but imagine the harm this would have caused if the car was just a bit closer. A change needs to be made to prevent students from being in harm's way at Magruder High School. The last thing a parent wants to hear is that their child has been hit by a car before even leaving their school, a place that is supposed to provide safety. Keeping the students safe is a top priority that can only be truly accomplished with a separate area for parent drop-off and pickup. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. We heard from the City of Rockville, Fields Road, Magruder, Quince Orchard. Dr. Taylor, I know the staff is here and you're aware of many of these issues, but just would ask for them to if there's anything that's not on their radar, to make sure that they take a look and see how it can be addressed so that they are moving through the projects as fast as possible.
Will do.
I will now turn to my colleagues to see if there's any questions or follow-up. Ms. Yang.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the mayor and the students from Magruder High School and Fieldsville Elementary School for coming out. And I would like to, our students, I know that due to financial constraints, sometimes a major capital project is difficult, but I think we heard a lot of issue of maintenance. So I would like to suggest our staff do a walkthrough with our schools to see if there's things we can address currently. Okay. And also, my question will be, for Wootton High School Phase 2 bus drop-off loop project that's scheduled for this coming summer, are there any community engagement events or conversation happening?
I think it might be too soon to schedule that, but I think that that's a part of the process.
Okay, that's very good to know. And also, I know that in our last meeting, CIP meeting, we talked about moving the $3 million funds for Twinbrook Elementary School. But can staff just elaborate on that again? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we, there are 4 elementary school projects, and Twinbrook is one of them, and those 4 projects will continue to be on track with planning. So the planning for those projects will move forward. There are also still some of the placeholder construction funds in those projects for when that construction is able to proceed on the schedule following the planning. What we did do was use some of the placeholder funds, again, to support some of our current construction needs, but the planning dollars for those schools are still in place. That planning will continue. And so the schools, when we come back next year, will be able to have a fuller understanding of the full funds that we should request and the schedule that they'll be on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, thank you to Mayor Monique Ashton. Just a few comments. It's always wonderful to see our young people involved civically, and please stay involved as you age. Don't become cynic about the process. Stay involved as much as you can. So thank you to all of you, especially at Fields Elementary School. It takes a lot to come and to testify in a room full of people, so kudos to you and to your parents. But I just would like to see, I know there's certain things that we can do. The water fountains at Twinbrook Elementary, can we please, anytime that our children don't have access to water is a major issue for me. Clean water is something that should be accessible to all. It should not be something that is not available to our children in our schools. So if we can have facilities look at that and try to fix it as soon as possible, that would be great. To my Magruder High School students, I'm very proud of you. Thank you all. Thank you. As somebody who have had kids who have played athletics, Mahmoudi, I'm sorry about your injury. I had a son who actually got injured in a field and broke his leg catching an outfield ball when he was playing baseball. So I know how sometimes those fields can be. But this is what I heard, and I'm hoping that we can remedy some of these things without major spending. But chairs are just an essential thing. They should not be breaking. They should not be injuring our students. Those are just basic needs. Elevators, I get very concerned if we don't have the elevators working at all. Injuries do happen, and not just with our students, but also our staff. So when you guys were testifying about all these things, I was also thinking about our teachers and our support staff in our buildings. So I heard that. I heard the security check-in. This does concern me. This is something I think that we have made a priority as a board. So the security check-in is definitely one of those things that I think we should look at. And as a mom of drama students in high school, the whole issue with the drama department, things do get old and so on, but finding cadavers of mouse should not be an experience that we should be having. So if we can also kind of see if we can do something about the friendly rodents around Magruder High School. But also, one of the testimonies got me a little bit concerned. I was one of those folks, even before I ran, that I advocated for hygiene products, female hygiene products in all of our schools. So the fact that there was testimony about that there were no hygiene products, they should be hygiene products in every women's in the bathroom. It is the law. So if that is not happening, please can we remedy that as soon as possible. And I just want to say with the parking lot, that seems that is something doable. Doesn't seem that would take a lot of, that seems like just seeing, and I will leave, I am not a traffic control guru, but we do have people like that on staff that we can actually look at the drop off and the pickup time, so that way it can be done in a safely manner. Sounds like maybe we need to send a nice letter to the parents also to kind of, be a good role models for our youth to ensure that we avoid accidents. But I do have to say, when I visited your school, coming out of that parking lot to be able to make that left turn, it is a dangerous turn. So it would be good if we can look at if there's anything that we can do to alleviate that, especially as as we're getting darker and you have a large student population of athletes, that we want to make sure that our kids are safe. But I made my list, and I hope that we can remedy some of those things. And I just want to say thank you, Magruder High School students. You make your community proud, and I really appreciate you being here on a school night.
I think I saw Mrs. Evans's light first.
Thank you. Thank you to our students. I do really think that it's important for us to call out what we've heard, and thank you to Ms. Silvestri for mentioning in the very beginning that the superintendent and all of the staff, they are taking notes. But just wanted to, first I want to acknowledge Oliver. Oliver, so you gave me a word that I can use with my daughter today because it makes me cool, Rizify. I thought that was really great, and how you captured what we could do to put some shine on Fields Road. And thank you to Rosemary. What a great vice president. My goodness. So I do appreciate that. And Magruder came out in full force. So we have received all of your emails. Thank you so much. And I do remember a good bit of you. I think I see your principal. He should be very proud. I saw a good bit of you at our regional community conversation with your cluster. And so many of you did share some concerns. And I am going to call out a parent that I see who is also a partner. Thank you to so I see Leah Bradley out there with Empowering the Ages. Yes, I do. I saw you. I don't know if you know, I saw you in between there. But I appreciate our students really coming out. It's important that you give us the story and your experience, regardless if I have student athletes, which I do. So I really am being thoughtful about what you all said about the fields and playing 3 days in a row because of your fields, and how home court advantage or home field advantage is actually not an advantage for you. So I absolutely know that staff will go out there and take a look and see what's going on. I heard some of you say turf fields, and so that's always a tricky conversation, right? But whatever we do, we'll make certain that it keeps you all safe. And in the parking lot, I heard a lot about that too. And I appreciate that our new drivers are really being concerned and thinking about the community in terms of how getting on the roads makes them feel in the parking lot. So we'll take a look at all of that and just know that we do care, right? So we're going to figure it out. I don't know that we'll be able to do everything, but there seems like there are some low-hanging fruit into which we heard tonight, and so we'll make sure we take a look at some of those things that we could do. And I appreciate how in all of your testimonies that you address the council members to. So I hope that they're able to also see and hear your testimony, right? So that we can see how all this works out, or at least that they can hear your story and know that you all are paying attention. And I do also appreciate that you all are advocating for your peers in the future, that you know that you won't benefit it. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. I just wanted to say thank you for coming out on a day where school is not in session. You could have easily been at home doing a whole bunch of other things, but you chose to come here. So we do appreciate you coming out, letting us know what we could do better, right? And all the emails as well. So we did get all of them. I know I read all of them. Thank you.
Ms. Harris?
Yeah, associating myself with the comments of my colleagues. And so Mr. Mamoon is new with us, but one thing I did want to mention is I appreciated Ms. Yang's mention of having staff going out and doing a walkthrough of both Fields Road and Magruder. But please do that with these students. We have done that in the past when Wooten students came to talk about a variety of issues at their school, and we made sure that the students that were here and raised the concerns were part of that walkthrough, and we're actually taking MCPF staff around and showing them, specifically and explicitly what they were talking about. And so you kind of all voluntold yourselves a little bit, but getting their perspective on what they live every day. And I do want to appreciate the way all of the Magruder students really focused in on safety issues, because it really is, particularly when we're talking about athletic fields, if we are forcing our athletes to play in conditions that are increasing their likelihood of injury, that is really not something that we can condone as a system. And so we really want to make sure that we get out there and take a look at those fields as soon as possible, because really and truly our students are on those fields 12 months a year. So we want to make sure that is a priority. And Rosemary, Oliver, and Ella, I really appreciate the way you have highlighted things that we can do, smaller type projects to really make the experience of your school better for you and your other your fellow students, especially the issues around your playground equipment, aging, infrastructure, and inaccessibility, because it really is very important that we create truly accessible facilities for all of our students. So I very much appreciate the way that you have raised that. And the menstrual product thing, I had this conversation just the other day, and I know it's not that our warehouse is lacking supply, so if you can figure out what the disconnect is between maybe the ordering happening between Magruder and the materials management unit, because we do have supply. And then finally, I did just want to mention, last spring I did a shadow day at Magruder. Elise Bradley was one of my spirit guides, and I actually was up in that props loft, so I knew exactly what you're talking about with those two spiral staircases. And I have a fear of heights, and I was a little shaky coming down, so I appreciate the way that you are elevating those practical concerns, because the Magruder Theater program is really vibrant, and we want to make sure that you can continue to do what you do in safer conditions.
Mr. Savarno.
All right, I just want to say thank you to all the students that came out. Riz is not a word that I thought I would be hearing at today's board meeting, but I do appreciate the elementary school students for coming out and talking about your school. For our Magruder students, thank you guys specifically for coming out and for really talking about all of the concerns that you guys have around your school. I did want to take a second to ask MCPS staff if they could maybe explain the difference between on-year versus off-year CIP and what that means for some of these projects and how it factors into budget, because I think that's an important consideration to think about when we're talking about some of these projects.
No, thank you. That is an important question. The county has a process by which the capital improvements plan is looked at as a biennial process. And so in in 1 year, we have what we call a full on-year CIP, where literally every project is up for review and approval by the board and the county council. And then in the off year, which this is the off year, the council intends to receive just amendments or changes that are needed due to cost or scope, or it's supposed to be a much more limited experience in the off year. It really is fully considered in the 2-year cycle. And so this is an off year, and as a result, the amendments that we're bringing forward under the superintendent's request to the board are really to be sure that we can complete the major projects that are in the CIP that are in process right now, and then make some minor adjustments that are needed to make the CIP work in this off year. Next year will be a full year CIP, and at that time, the request will address many more of the large-scale projects that that folks are interested in. That's a time that the board can take sort of that fuller look at what the priorities are. And so this off year is also an opportunity for staff to really go through and do a lot of the foundational work that we need to do to be sure that we have the facility assessments documented and the planning work done and some of the budgeting work done to be sure that that full year CIP request is well documented, well supported, and then can again be brought forward in a more robust fashion.
Got it. So just to clarify for my Magruder students here and all the students in the audience, what this basically means is we're probably not going to be seeing a full, major capital improvement added to the CIP this year for Magruder, right? Because that's not what the off-year CIP necessarily does in terms of our capital projects. But by you guys coming here today and speaking, it does elevate it to the attention of MCPS officials. And then speaking of elevating that sort of attention, I really would highly encourage you guys to come out on November 20th to my Small Advisory Council meeting. It's at Wheaton High School. We're going to have members of the facility staff there to talk about some of these issues, and we can have more of an in-depth conversation to talk through some of these concerns. So I extend that invitation to each and every single one of you. Bring your friends, any other students that want to come by. November 20th, 6 to 8 p.m., Wheaton High School. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all again for your testimony. We will now move on to testimony from our associations and organizations. If we could get then the 3 speakers to please come forward. Walter Shaw, Kim Glassman, and Bridget Howe. And Walter Shaw, you may begin.
Okay, before we begin, we're testifying together. I'm not sure if that was on the agenda, but we are testifying together.
Okay, you have 5 minutes between the two of you.
Good evening, Superintendent Taylor and members of the board. We are members of the MCPS Student Climate Action Council, or SCAC, a student-composed, board-sanctioned group seeking to create a green school system. Before we begin, my name is Kimberly Lee, and I am currently serving as a North Central Council member.
And my name is Walter Shaw, and I'm currently serving as the SCAC's vice chair.
As you all know, the SCAC combines a multitude of perspectives from different schools throughout the county, and we work to reduce MCPS's environmental impact while providing support for student sustainability projects. The SCAC is currently working to formulate a climate action plan to support the school system in reducing its carbon emissions and reaching its sustainability goals of an 80% reduction in carbon emissions by 2027 and a 100% reduction by 2035. One of the main pillars of this plan is clean energy, which is crucial to reducing Montgomery County's carbon footprint. The 2 components of this pillar that we want to focus on tonight are energy conversion and efficient HVAC systems. MCPS should be conscious of their energy usage, especially when updating current facilities or building new ones, particularly by harnessing more solar power. Currently, MCPS has 17 solar sites across their schools. However, MCPS has over 200 schools, meaning that these solar sites make up less than 10% of the total. MCPS should increase the amount of schools that utilize solar power, given the multitude of benefits that it offers. These benefits include reduced electricity costs, lower maintenance needs, zero carbon emissions, and educational opportunities for students to learn about renewable energy firsthand. In fact, MCPS has saved over $300,000 due to the use of solar power. Ensuring that the current buildings are renovated to be all electric is another priority. Converting to electric heating systems and appliances will create healthier learning environments for our students by improving indoor air quality while significantly reducing our school's carbon footprint. This would decrease our reliance on unsustainable energy practices and would benefit our school system in the long run. MCPS should also explore alternatives to reduce energy use, such as implementing cool roofs, which is when roofs are simply painted white and they're designed to reflect sunlight, thus reducing the internal temperature of our buildings. In addition to being environmentally conservative, this design would also reduce air conditioning costs.
Now, on to HVAC systems. MCPS should prioritize keeping our HVAC systems up to date, not only for the environment, but also for our students. An issue that has been brought up time and time again amongst our students is MCPS's old, unreliable breaking HVAC systems. These outdated systems create highly uncomfortable learning conditions, and we must prioritize the success of our students by keeping these systems updated. Even today, we heard multiple testimonies about issues like mold in our schools, and you want to know what's causing some of that mold? These broken, leaking HVAC systems. Upgrading these systems isn't just about comfort. It's an investment in healthier, more productive learning spaces that support both our students' well-being and our district's environmental goals. The environmental issues stemming from MCPS's current HVAC systems are a result of their reliance on outdated, inefficient technology. These technologies consume excessive energy and use refrigerants with high global warming potential, both of which are contributing to environmental harm. By expanding programs such as MCPS's already existing geothermal heating systems, MCPS can fortify its position as a climate leader, enhancing energy efficiency, reducing emissions, and creating a better learning environment for our students. Advances in our county's energy and HVAC systems will undoubtedly lower our county's impact on the climate and will help create a green school system for future MCPS students. As the climate crisis worsens, it is imperative that MCPS seeks to take immediate action on present environmental issues and unify their response under an overarching climate action plan. The integration of clean energy and climate consciousness into all parts of the school system will allow MCPS to reach its zero emission goal by 2035. MCPS does not only have the ability to take these actions, it has a responsibility to do so. A responsibility to the students, staff, and community whose futures are being affected by climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Glassman, you may begin.
Good evening, Dr. Taylor and members of the board. My name is Kim Glassman, and I'm the Magruder PTSA president. How many times have you seen me here testifying about Magruder's place in the capital improvements program? This year I brought some friends, and weren't our students amazing? I would like to thank Michelle Matat and her leadership class for being true student leaders, as well as our building services team for maintaining our 53-year-old building. As is pointed out in the CIP, even well-maintained facilities eventually reach the end of their useful lifespan. I appreciate that the County Council forced our removal from the CIP through the non-recommended cuts last spring. However, since 2019, MCPS and the Magruder community have been planning for our major capital improvement. During that time, items we have submitted through the CIP and work order process have been denied because of this long-planned, long-anticipated construction. After 2 prior delays, our page in the latest amended CIP is a large blank sea of white with nothing planned and nothing anticipated. For the last several years, our requests have highlighted the needs of repair and replacement while waiting for this long-promised project. Each of our requests have been marked as not planned or major capital project August 2029 completion. Well, I ask each of you, now what? I'm going to share some thoughts from our PTSA Student Vice President, Eva Hernandez. Eva says, I'm coming to you as a 4-year varsity POMS member and captain and an athlete who has been in many doctor's offices for numerous visits to the trainer due to shin splints caused by dancing on our cafeteria floor. POMs are normally cast to the cafeteria for practice because other teams take other spaces. The dance studio where dance teams would normally practice is not a good fit for our team of 22 competing athletes. Not only is the studio too small, practicing in the cafeteria has caused POMs to have many injuries like shin splints and sprains. On the chance that you can get into the dance studio, imagine your disappointment at the sight of the smallest room not even fit for 7 girls. The space meant for dancers not fit for the dance team? Imagine dancing in a cardboard box. How does that work? How does that feel? That is what moving a team of 20 to 25 girls feels like in our minuscule dance studio. As you heard from all of our students, Magruder has needs that must be addressed. If the major capital improvement is simply never going to be, as we've been delayed and then removed from the budget, please take a look, as you said, at the low-hanging fruit. Our exterior lights are old, dim, and tinted yellow. The entrances are not adequately lit and pose safety risks. Last year when I testified, the response was that there are rules around the brightness of lights for surrounding homes. Have you all been to Magruder? We do not have many surrounding homes. The rock-filled path to the stands is steep and hazardous for visiting spectators. We need permanent steps and handrails to provide safe and accessible entry. We have little camera coverage on our stadium field and the backside of our building. The upper fields and other locations are not adequately covered. The auditorium lighting and sound needs to be replaced and upgraded. While some lighting has been replaced, they have a 3-month lifespan because of the outdated wiring system. The sound system goes in and out during student performances. The lockers are broken and falling apart. The restrooms need renovations to maintain proper repair. The girls' locker room is in poor shape. The roof leaks in several areas, resulting in mold throughout the building. The elevators frequently go out of service. And as you heard from many of our student athletes, the stadium field is uneven and full of divots, risking student injury. It becomes unplayable when it rains for too many days. Our varsity field hockey team had 4 games in 6 days because we had to do a rainout the following week, and we had a limited number of days left. As the parent of a student who plays every minute of every game, she was quite tired by game 4. The parking lot does not drain properly and water pools after heavy rains. The HVAC system is old, and the heating and cooling is inconsistent throughout the building. Magruder is pretty small, and generally speaking, other than me, pretty quiet. Removing a project that has been planned since 2019 while denying upkeep is not acceptable. If the prior KFI data were up to date, perhaps MCPS would recognize that buildings like Magruder, despite the efforts of our building services team, function daily in spite of these major key systems failings and deferred maintenance problems. So I ask each of you, what is your plan for Magruder now? Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget Howe, you may begin.
Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the proposed CIP and amendments. I'm Bridget Howe, president of Montgomery County Council of PTAs. First, I do want to thank the MCPS facilities, construction, transportation, and district-wide operations staff with whom we've worked closely. Our partnership on school construction impact teams, the Office of Sustainability, and the School Construction Work Group has resulted in positive outcomes for school projects and communities. We appreciate you and the work that we're doing together. And Dr. Taylor and board members, you have a standing invitation to join a skit, as we call it, anytime, to witness our collaborative grassroots problem-solving strategies firsthand. Before I turn to the CIP, I must address MCPS communication about the CIP shortfall in this year's amendment cycle. It was simply confusing. As MCCPTA, we can't explain to our members what we ourselves, so-called parents in the know, do not understand. We are ready to help MCPS break this organizational bad habit, and we have practical suggestions. First, you must prioritize the end-user experience with an equity lens. This means using plain language, multiple languages, and multiple modes. Current comms tactics perpetuate barriers for many, especially our EML families, those new to the system, and the average parent who doesn't speak MCPS. We have a number of requests with regards to this year's CIP, some that are project-related and others that are systemic. I will speak broadly, but there's a lot more detail in my written testimony. Number one, we ask for a firm and stated commitment to reinstate years and timelines to those projects remanded to TBD with the reallocation in this year's amendments. You will hear from many of our volunteer leaders, and have, about projects that have suffered repeated delays. Some of these schools, like Eastern Middle School, have waited patiently for almost a decade to lock in a date, even just for the planning process. Number two, we ask that MCPS leadership issue a public acknowledgement of and plan to remedy the $1.1 billion in facility maintenance backlog, including the $385 million in HVAC repairs. Too many school infrastructure systems are worn down beyond their life cycle expectancies, ill-prepared for now routine weather fluctuations, and only erratically assessed for deficiencies. You're going to hear from a lot of PTA volunteers about repeated unanswered requests for fixes. In the end, it's our kids who shoulder the burden of learning loss when facility failures force teachers and staff to make an emergency pivot and in some cases even close schools. Number 3, we ask that MCPS commit publicly to a process and timeline for refining, documenting, and creating public access to the new Facilities Condition Index in time for the full CIP in fall 2025. We've advocated for years for a transparent, fluid, and coordinated data set to evaluate and assess facility conditions. We don't want this renewed promise to go unfulfilled and remain static like the previous Key Facilities Index. Imagine a future state if we had a work order system that routinely flagged repeated problems and informed the FCI data. There is tremendous cost savings and strategic decision-making to be realized with living data sets that are used cooperatively within and across MCPS divisions. Number 4, we ask that MCPS leaders undertake a full review and revision of FAA regulations establishing the formula for school program capacity calculations. This current formula is an academic exercise that does more harm than good from the perspective of the lived experiences of school staff and families. First, the good, it does provide a broad picture of school capacity and serves value for the annual schools test with the planning department. But for the bad, this calculation is inadequate as a tool for understanding just how overburdened our schools actually are. Separating that calculation from operational inputs, although they do acknowledge Title I, community, and some special ed programs, it paints a distorted picture of what informs school capacity other than just seats. Mostly the current program calculation ignores that MCPS is a human enterprise with tremendous variability in its inputs. How can we expect to change outcomes if we don't own and name the inputs that create the inequalities in the first place? Finally, 5, implement the upcoming boundary study with a commitment to engagement, transparency, and accountability. This commitment, which has started with adding community reviewers to the RFP committee, must continue throughout the entire process. Community members understand that filling the thousands of seats at the new Woodward and New Crown high schools means that today's boundaries, many of which date back decades, need to shift. The questions that remain, though, go beyond facilities and boundaries to include programs and transportation, among other elements. All of these elements are crucial to determining how we can responsibly utilize our buildings to serve the needs of our children and our limited budget. And the eventual options will be closely scrutinized, as will the process undertaken to determine those options. Thank you.
Thank you all for your testimony. We will now hear from our cluster representatives. If we could get our cluster representatives to please come forward. Laura Nichols, Claire Bolek, Catherine Stocker, Dorijan Hoffman, and Katie Blott. Laura Nichols, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Laura Nichols, and I'm the Northwood Athletics Association president this year. That's our booster club. I'm also the vice president for the PTSA at our school, and of course, a parent of a Northwood student. And I'm here on behalf of the Northwood cluster. We'll focus on Northwood tonight, but first I want to say that we are grateful for the projects and improvements that are happening in our cluster. And at Northwood especially, we're grateful for our shiny new, if somewhat sterile building, that's Woodward. We've not been allowed to hang anything on the walls yet, so it still feels more like a hotel than a home, but it's getting there. So I'm here because we have significant concerns with the construction that's happening at Woodward, specifically the lack of transparency and communication about the project. You've heard those words tonight, haven't you? The inability to meet deadlines and the lack of follow-through on the established priorities. MCPS has asked our kids and our whole community at Northwood to make do without a lot throughout these next 3 years. And it seems reasonable that the items that are to be completed are actually done correctly and on time. I've been participating on the Northwood School Construction Impact Team since earlier this year. It's well organized. We have great leadership. The opportunity for all of our parties to share and prioritize in real time and problem solve collaboratively is helpful, as long as there is follow through at the conclusion of the meetings. We have yet to have representation from all of the stakeholders, specifically HES, at the SCIP meeting, and my understanding is that it is an anomaly that our construction representative is absent and has been since the beginning. We have completed the first quarter of our school year. You know this. Our students have been in the building for 45 days. During this time, the front and back entrances of our schools remain unfinished. The back entrance, here I'll show you pictures, had a water issue in September. It has been repaired by the hanging of a tarp. Can you see that tarp, right? There are large pieces of lumber tied to the tarp in several places. You can see in the picture how unsafe this looks and feels for students and staff who come through these doors. This is also the entrance to the gym where visitors come to Woodward, which will be happening a lot more with the kickoff of our winter sports season. It's also one of the entrances where our DCC open house students and visitors entered, as it is adjacent to one of our very limited parking lots. Our staff parking lot in the back is lacking in lighting. It's adjacent to this tarp entrance. The lighting isn't working. Occasionally one of the 4 lights in the morning is on when they arrive, but it's inconsistent. So not only are we asking our staff to come in from a dark parking lot in the middle of a construction zone, but our school hours begin before the other high schools at MCPS. So this is a major safety and comfort issue for our staff that also hasn't been addressed and has been on the SCIT agenda since the middle of the summer. We're busy on Old Georgetown Road, or on busy Old Georgetown Road. It's hard to tell where to come and go. Until last week, the drive to the main entrance was marked like this, the main entrance for every single person to enter our school, staff, visitor. This is the entrance for the non-buses. They did actually put a sign that is printed and not handwritten on Friday, 2 days after the open house for the DCC at Northwood. So let's see, our tennis courts were not laid correctly. So our only outdoor sport that we were going to be able to host on our campus will now not happen this spring. And our black box theater, remember that? The remedy for not having an auditorium at our school for so many years, well, the theater, it's not ready. Remains unfinished, TBD. We heard that tonight too. So our theater programs had to pivot. They flipped their programs. We've delayed to December. We're using Wheaton. And so they're trying to use the space, but it continues to be only partially accessible for them to even practice as they get ready for their program. So it's an unfortunate situation. And I won't go into our MICE situation, which hopefully is being remedied, but our entire courtyard, which is the only outdoor space in our on our campus where our students can go during the day outside because we are in a construction zone, is full. It is fully infested with mice. So the other thing is, last Wednesday we had our DCC open house, and I happened to be there to support our staff along with our PTSA president. And the questions that we consistently got from the visitors and parents said, when does the school actually open? They said, when is the school going to open? Are there students actually going here? So I would invite you to drive onto our campus and see what that feels like and look at that signage. So we've been highlighting these concerns at the SCIT meetings, following the channels, communicating about these items since the middle of summer, and nothing has changed. The lack of transparency and follow through and the process reflects poorly on all the parties, and it's detrimental to our community at Northwood. If I could say one more thing, I would just say that ultimately we're just asking you to look, take a hard and immediate look at what's happening at Woodward right now, the timeline for this project, what's not happening, and figure out the root cause of the delays, whether that's HES or whether it's MCPS or a combination of the two, and please get it fixed because our community deserves better than this.
Thank you for your testimony. And now next is Claire Bullock for the Kennedy cluster.
Good evening. I think I'm on. Members of the board and Dr. Taylor. It's always a privilege to share the Kennedy cluster needs with you as we determine our budget needs for the upcoming years. I understand I am not representative of my community or this cluster, but I am here on behalf of the community of people who I am honored to call friends and neighbors. Our segment of the county provides housing and services to a large population of families who are new to the American public school system. Our schools often feel the needs of the transportation issues, childcare, and food scarcity. That being said, these families are committed to giving their children something better than they've had received in previous time. This often comes out in conversations with students that I meet who speak English, but their parents do not. There is a desire to always do better and to push through when things get difficult. I want to thank you for your efforts within our cluster and the Down County Consortium. Our community health centers are providing services to our community in many ways, especially in addressing our fentanyl epidemic. Our principals are invested in the communities and engaging leadership with the teachers in a purposeful way. The way this has been shown has been mostly through listening and advocating and responding to the needs within the community with the help of these community health centers. It has been amazing to watch the Northwood change this summer. The school has been a part of my life, having friends being housed there while Springbrook High School was being rebuilt in the late 90s. My son is the first to notice the dancing bodies on the front of the school come down. And I'm in here to encourage the work to make the school amazing and to safe for the current students as well as the future students it will house. Safety has been the theme of everything today. Last year at Kennedy High School, there was another student from another school that came into the school and threatened students and staff with a knife. This situation, along with many other safety issues, open drug use, students off campus during school hours, and deaths of students, elevated the JFK PTSA's voice to call a safety meeting last year. Thank you for all who attended that meeting. This meeting brought out concerned stakeholders, students, parents, and community members who wanted to do something. Many of you were present, as I said that before, sorry. But one result of that meeting was the assessment of safety and security at Kennedy High School. This assessment states that it would take approximately $400,000 to make JFK safe. This money would go toward costs necessary for security measures, additional personnel, which I know is not part of this budget, but I like to put that in there, enhanced access control systems, surveillance cameras, fences, fixing doors, and lighting. Some of these items that were mentioned in this report include things that were asked for in previous years, like cameras and lighting being two major things mentioned last year in my testimony. At that time, it was said that it would come out on a schedule that was predetermined, and JFK and other Kennedy cluster schools were on that timeline. It feels like an empty statement when we are asking for them again this year, because the ones installed last year left gaping holes in the coverage. In addition to the submitted testimony, is the need for ID scanners. In a recent safety meeting with Kennedy stakeholders, these scanners will be significant to deter the outsiders from coming in and students keeping in and out of school. This report also addressed how many maintenance tickets for minor issues within the building were left open and unaddressed. I believe most of them have been addressed, but this seems to be a consistent issue within MCPS, as I'm hearing tonight, that small things like doors and locks should not be things that should be overlooked on open maintenance tickets. Last year, as many people have said, I requested an assessment to be done on the Glen Allen drop-off and pickup circle. We were given a lot here within MCPS, the dream team, but I will tell you what's happening at Magruder is exactly what's happening in elementary school, and it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hit. I don't know if it's parents or what kind of things are needed. So let me just do the last thing. Strathmore Elementary School needs a new HVAC. They have asking community members to bring in fans. They have open ceilings, and they keep the door open in their APR room just because they need to keep the air circulated.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Kathy Stocker, you may begin.
Thanks. Good evening, Board President Silvestri, Vice President Harris, Board of Education members, MCPS staff, and Dr. Taylor. Thank you for the opportunity to testify at this hearing. My name is Kathy Stocker, and I'm the MCC PTA Area Vice President for the BCC, Walter Johnson, and Whitman clusters. I've come before you so many times, so it will no doubt not surprise you to learn that I am here to speak to you this evening about Bethesda Elementary School. The school community has been on quite the roller coaster over the past 6 years, so I thought I would offer a brief retrospective on how we got where we are here today at BE. At the beginning of 2019, after years of valiantly working hard to make hard things work, the BE school leadership and community members were relieved and looking forward to their much-needed and long-anticipated addition. MCPS had invested time and effort to develop a beautiful design and community-conscious plan for the addition at BE. Due to the pandemic-induced budget constraints, BE lost their funding for their much-needed addition in the amended FY 2021-2026 CIP. Because the addition was canceled, an already planned boundary study between nearby Somerset and Westbrook elementary schools was expanded to include BE. All three school communities provided feedback and worked together to collectively select a boundary option that they could all support. The BOE recommended an option that none of these three communities ranked as a top choice. After raising serious concerns at a hearing just like this one, the final recommendation was deliberated behind closed doors at a meeting to which no community members were invited. The option recommended by the BOE and then implemented did not address socioeconomic and racial disparities we were attempting to mitigate across our cluster. Most importantly, we knew that the option recommended by the BOE was not actually going to address our utilization and crowding concerns. The option that this body recommended projected an enrollment of 545 students. Your constituents on the ground, carefully canvassing and measuring and speaking to their own constituents, knew this number was wrong and knew it was predicated on questionable assumptions. In that study, MCPS forecasted 545 students at BE. This time last year, the actual number was 613. The projection in the current CIP is 644, but BE is already at 642 students as of last week, and the student body at BE grows over the course of the year as military and international families stream in over the course of the year at a steady rate. BE is out of classroom space, with 4 classes at each grade level, many with almost 30 students per class. Core spaces are stretched to the limit. But significantly, I have to stress, these numbers do not tell the full story at BE. BE is a diverse urban school with a 29% farms rate. The mobility rate is over 25%, and there is no extra slack to accommodate the resulting lumpiness in enrollment. 12% of students have very high special education instructional needs, and BE has a very high rate of English language learners who demonstrate need for the most intensive language instruction needs. Currently at BE, there are at least a dozen displaced students eligible for services under the McKinney-Vito Act. We have 3 asks. The first is immediate and obvious. We need some portables. Principal Seymour and her staff have used every charm they have in their bag of tricks to find closets and corners to deliver instruction and services to their high-need community. They even had to get a waiver from the union to take away teacher lounge space. Even though Principal Seymour has been working her magic for years, there are no more cubbyholes or nooks to use. We need some portables yesterday, but we will take them tomorrow, as soon as you can get them there. Principal Seymour has been struggling for years to make things work, but there's nothing left to do, which is why we're relying on you to make this work now. Ask 2. We are asking you, Dr. Taylor, and the BOE to carefully reconsider how you calculate how much space a school population needs. We understand that a system this big needs a standard algorithm for determining how much capacity a school population needs, but the rigidity with which you apply these standards means that you miss critical variables in the operational reality of a school. Ask 3 is related to Ask 2. Your communities and constituencies are here to fill in the color and detail to the black and white outlines created by these rigid frameworks. We can help you discern what the numbers actually mean day to day on the ground. Please listen to us. Please work with us. Please do not disregard us when we tell you that what you see on the page does not reflect significant changes in school populations and the resulting impact on the classroom and community. Working together, we can plan ahead and help prevent these capacity crises in our schools. Thank you for your service to the students and families of MCPS.
Thank you. Dorian Hoffman, you may begin.
President Silvestri, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight. My name is Dorian Hoffman, and I'm one of 3 cluster coordinators for the Walter Johnson cluster. We are grateful for the board's work to reopen Woodward High School to alleviate overcrowding in the WJ and the WJ cluster and the DCC. I had the opportunity to visit the new building currently holding Northwood High School. Unfortunately, it remains incomplete. We support Northwood's testimony and concerns around the building as it currently stands. Tonight, I will speak on 2 issues, the completion of the Woodward Auditorium and the Woodward Boundary Study. We are encouraged by MCPS's commitment to completing projects that have already been started and hope that the board will embrace that strategy, support, and approve the superintendent's recommendations. First, the WJ cluster fully supports the superintendent's FY 2026 capital budget and amendments. It is critical that the board adopt the amended CIP and seek the funds needed to finish the Woodward and Crown auditoriums. Last year, at the final hour, MCPS withdrew money from the auditoriums, promising it would get added back in the next budget cycle. The board must now refund the completion of the 2 schools, or students will enter their new high schools in 2027 without auditoriums. You may recall our cluster and student testimony last year about why it is important to have fully functional auditoriums. They hold everything from performances and assemblies to testing and community events. We understand that MCPS made an error in awarding part of the Woodward contract, and the project will not receive $39 million of state aid that was expected for construction. We ask the board to not compound this error by cutting into the Woodward project. We have been waiting more than a decade to alleviate overcrowding at WJ, a school which now has more than 3,000 students and is 700 students over capacity. Please keep Woodward on track to open in August 2027 with full amenities. Superintendent Taylor has identified additional funding sources, and we ask that the board work with County Council to keep the Woodward project whole. Second, the WJ cluster is extremely concerned about the timeline, content, and community engagement aspects of the Woodward Boundary Study. This boundary study will be of a scope and complexity that we have not experienced in years, if ever, at MCPS. The inclusion of the Down County Consortium in the scope of the Woodward Boundary Study makes it particularly critical that the process stay on track with the currently adopted timeline. We ask that the board provide careful oversight of the consultant and ensure there are target dates for key milestone decisions and opportunities for community feedback at multiple points. This boundary study is not just about lines drawn on a map. MCPS and the board will need to decide many programmatic and practical questions about the new Woodward High School through the boundary study. These include how Woodward programs will interact with the DCC, whether there will be a magnet or other special programs, and to which grades Woodward will initially open. These items need to be evaluated. The community needs specific opportunities for feedback on each, and time-sensitive decisions need to be identified and made early in the process. Only then can the community give informed and useful feedback on the broader questions of physical boundaries. We ask that MCPS work with the consultant to set an articulated and sequenced timeline for these decisions. Once set, these timelines need to be followed. The board and MCPS must keep in mind that DCC students engage in the high school choice process in the fall of 8th grade. Therefore, decisions on what options will be available to which students need to be made more than a year in advance. The board must not allow the spring 2026 boundary adoption deadline to get pushed back, or it will substantially hinder the choice process of the class of 2031. I have attached additional written testimony with some specific school requests, including important requests from the Walter Johnson School to manage their current situation because it is so overcrowded and there are serious security concerns. The Woodward project has been modified and delayed and candidly will no longer serve the students and families that initially advocated for it more than 13 years ago. We encourage the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations and boundary study. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Blott, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, President Silvestri, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Taylor, and MCPS staff. My name is Katie Blott, and along with my fellow cluster coordinators, I'm representing the students and families of the Whitman cluster. We appreciate that caregivers and students from our school communities are seen as important partners in the CIP process, and we appreciate the opportunity to testify today. In the Whitman cluster, we are very thankful for the support provided in the prior CIP plan to address significant issues that were impacting student learning and safety in our cluster. I'm here today to raise an area that still remains unaddressed and that is impacting some of our most vulnerable students. We're proud to have two special programs in our cluster. We have an autism program at Carter Rock, which has benefited from support and therefore can fully support their students. We also have a special education program at Burning Tree Elementary, which unfortunately is in a very different situation, and also unfortunately was another one of these CIP to TBD situations that we heard of earlier. And while it was indicated earlier by Ms. McGuire that planning will proceed, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't remind you all why this project was approved in the first place and how important it is. Burning Tree was built in 1958. That's 66 years ago. The last time it was revitalized was 32 years ago. Not only does this age impact the safety and learning of our students, the lack of any changes in 32 years means that it is not compliant with ADA accessibility. So we have special needs students in not just a deteriorating building, but in a building does not meet their needs especially. On top of these serious concerns, Burning Tree is also significantly overcrowded. It currently sits at 123% of its capacity, a full 90 students over its capacity enrollment of 389. And of course, these issues of the state of the building, ADA noncompliance, and overcrowding negatively impact the safety and learning of all 479 of our young students at Burning Tree, not just those in the special education program. Now, I know we're not alone in being overcrowded and aged infrastructure. We've heard about a lot tonight, and we're here not just for Burning Tree. We're here to advocate for the county and for the board to fund critical needs at our elementary schools across MCPS, and especially those serving special populations. We strongly encourage that these needs be addressed in the next full cycle of the CIP. While we understand that funds needed to be reallocated this year, and we certainly support that reallocation to get these critical projects over the finish line, we respectfully expect that this TBD for Burning Tree Elementary be replaced with committed funding and a timeline in this next cycle. And we're here to advocate from the board and from MCPS for all of the approved projects that were remanded to TBD in this year's budget allocation. I think you've heard very compelling testimony, especially from our students, of the reasons that these projects were approved in the first place and the very real impacts that their delays are having on our students. Again, we're grateful for the support that's been provided for our students. We look forward to being full participants in the upcoming boundary studies to help maximize the use of these prior investments, including those that were made in our cluster. In particular, with the investments that were made in the last CIP cycle to Pyle Middle School and Whitman High School, both receiving additions, we have the capacity to serve additional students. In fact, we're already doing so. We welcomed 30 ninth grade students to the Leadership Academy for Social Justice at Whitman this year, and we are very excited to have those families in our Whitman community. We look forward to the expansion of that program, and we look forward to participating, especially in the Woodward Boundary Study, to understand additional ways that we can leverage our capacities to serve the needs of students in Montgomery County. And I just want to end by echoing the testimony from my fellow cluster coordinators regarding the real need for transparency and community involvement in those studies, and the active listening from the people who do, as you so eloquently said, understand the context behind these numbers and what the real experience is of the students and the families across our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll pause for board questions. We are a little bit behind schedule, so I ask you to keep your comments brief. Ms. Yang.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. You gave really passionate and compelling advocacy for your cluster. I want to ask a question specifically for Ms. Glassman's testimony. I understand your frustration, right? I want to ask our system, have we changed the practice? So if a building is scheduled for major renovation, but that or major capital project that's down the road, or 5, 6, 7 years down the road, do we keep up the maintenance? Do we fulfill the work order?
Yeah, it's definitely the goal, obviously, to maintain our buildings, especially the ones that come off of planned improvement, because their maintenance needs are just going to amplify over time. So it is absolutely the need for the system to maintain those buildings. I will say that that this has been pointed out a number of times, that there's a significant backlog in major maintenance. Mm-hmm. That major maintenance does need to be funded, and that major maintenance needs to be maintained over time, and that is not a funding source that has received enough funds to keep up with the demand of the aging infrastructure. Mm-hmm. These projects, as you'll hear, will only amplify over time until we get ahead of some renovations and some replacements, because a lot of our buildings have a late 1900s renovation and mid-1900s construction, and not a lot since then, and a modernization in the 1980s, 40 years later. It's not really a modernization after all. So there's a lot of work, and some of those major systems are also on timelines of themselves. An HVAC system is pretty much on a clock. It's a 20-year clock, and the second you turn it on after it starts going, 20 years later, it's ready to shut off. And many of those HVAC systems that were installed 20, 25, 30 years ago are still online and still hanging by a thread, and it shows. And so those are critical issues that are being illuminated tonight and in our email inboxes.
Right. So for this year's CIP, we have put emphasis on addressing some ongoing issues. So if that walkthrough is to happen, I would like we take a comprehensive look on, for a building that we have denied its maintenance because it was on major capital, maybe it's time to look at some of the prior requests that have been put off or denied. Okay. And another thing I want to highlight, I think many cluster reps and including MCC-PTA talk about this programming capacity and utilization of our buildings. I think this is something we need to look at again, and maybe together with the planning board. Because take Bethesda Elementary School as an example. When it has the name Bethesda in its school name, people would not think it has 30% farm rate. And you wouldn't think that its English language learner is over 20%, and it has 3 ELD teachers. And that means it impacts the programming space. And I think Dr. Taylor and I were at Bethesda Elementary School the first week of school, and we saw The second grade classroom, each of the classroom have 28 students in each one of them, but they have no space to open another classroom because they're out of space. So I really would let us work with planning board and internally look at how I remember you telling planning board, say, even a school when it's 85% utilized, it is full because their programming needs, our students' needs now are much more nuanced, complex. And we have to, as a community hub, we have to do more. Our schools have to do more. So I really appreciate you raise this question. I think it's time we do a system overview and work with our planning partners. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Vadavin?
Thank you. I'll try to be as quick as I can. I thank you so much for coming tonight. I don't know where to begin. I'm so overwhelmed. So with the Northwood cluster, I know there's going to be follow-up. I don't know what when I was involved at Clarksburg High School, the folks who did the construction in the high school came to every meeting. So I don't know what is the protocol with Northwood. It's not in my district, but I still keep an eye on it because we're going to have this major, right? So can somebody tell me the reason why? Is it that they don't know about the meetings? I think that would be hard to know. But is there a reason why they don't show up to these meetings? I want to know because, like I said, my experience with the building of Clarksville High School was totally night and day. So
Well, this is an opportunity for MCPS to get a little bit better. And I think that there's a lot of shared responsibility with this project. This seems to be the project that is the gift that keeps on giving and not in a great way. This is an opportunity for us to coordinate better with our partners who are in the construction of the Woodward site. And in addition, for those partners to be good communicators with us as well, and for us to be on the same page. We are rapidly trying to bring this project to conclusion. Not just the phases that have already been underway, but as we've noted in the CIP, and thank you for the endorsement, we really do appreciate it, to bring the complete project to conclusion and to do so rapidly. We find it wholly unacceptable to see some of the condition the way that it is and the timeline in which the project has gone underway. We hope that that improves dramatically and that there's a clear timeline within the week of what that's going to look like to bring that project to conclusion.
thank you, Dr. Taylor. I just find that we have asked the community to do a lot, to sacrifice a lot, and at the end of the day, we're going to have an amazing school that unfortunately a lot of the kids in it are not going to be able to take advantage of. But at least if we can look into the lighting issue, I think that is definitely a safety issue. If we can make some of those things doable for the greater good, I think, the young man who testified, Oliver, I love, he said curb appeal. Can we do a little curb appeal with Northwood? Because it does have an impact, right, on our young people when they're being dropped off. I mean, it does. It is a pride thing. So even if we can make the signs, printed, make them a little nicer with the school colors. I mean, come on, guys. I know we can do this. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of the young people that we're serving, right? You only go to high school once. You only have those experiences once. So anything that we can do to make that experience better, I think it's worth it. Claire, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for representing. You know what? You do represent the community, and you do it amazingly. Thank you as an immigrant myself, and as a former ESOL learner, and as somebody who who was in that position of translating for my whole family. Guess what? We really appreciate folks like you. So I just want to say thank you so much. I'll say in Spanish, muchas gracias por todo lo que hiciste por la comunidad. And I just want to say, I know that there's funding attached to the security issues at Kennedy High School high school, but it's all about priorities as well, right? And looking at other things that are happening. And I don't know where we are with the ID scanners, but I know that is something that is a priority for the board, especially in a school with Kennedy has so many entrances all over that campus. And the other thing I want to say, I know there are very difficult maintenance orders that are put in, but they're also very minor maintenance orders that are put in. So it sounds like more like we need to come up with some kind of program. I don't know if it was prior to this testimony where it flags repeater, the repeat offenders, right? With the minor things, with the doorknobs, with, the bulb, lights, to make lighting better, to things that are minor that we can actually do. Because I think it is important that our children feel welcome, and they feel and they have pride in the place that they're going every day. I was looking at the Burning Tree Elementary School. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And actually, the latest enrollment that I found was 476 kids, 21 languages spoken, kids with special needs. One of the missions it says is to promote excellence, education, and a safe, positive, nurturing environment. I want that to be true for the children that will go to Burning Tree, because these are children with high special needs, and that should really be a priority for the system to make sure that it is ADA compliance. These are not kids who can just, they are kids who need to have access to ADA compliance because of just the nature of what their needs are. It's not like they're on crutches because they were playing soccer, right? It's because they just need it. And when we have schools where we have a population that needs ADA compliance, as somebody who has an ADA person in my family, I'm always very triggered because there is nothing worse than taking your loved one to a place that you cannot access, right? And then you feel awful. So I'm putting myself on the shoes of the parents and the teachers and the principals. So if we can do anything, Dr. Taylor and staff, to make sure that we can make those things happen, I would really, truly appreciate it. And maybe this is a good time, not just to do an audit on Doubletree Elementary School, but to do an audit at some of our other schools where we do have a population that, there are children with quite special needs that might not be in compliance to the way it needs to be. Thank you for coming tonight.
Ms. Harris.
Yes, I will be quick. Along the lines that Ms. Rivera-Oven was talking about, I have had concerns for a while that we put programs for students with significant special needs in schools that are not ADA compliant, and that's not our only choice, and we've got to take a look at why we make those decisions. Hearing a lot of themes here around infrastructure, aging infrastructure, HVAC, and some of the things that I first elevated at our first CIP work session a couple weeks ago. First of all, Mr. Mahmoud, just really looking forward to seeing the systems analysis of the projects that we are doing and have done that are going to realize this real money from the Inflation Reduction Act. That program will provide us 30% of the costs of several of the kinds of projects that we already do. That's real money we can use to redirect to other purposes. And just a shout out again to MCPS-MD, who were instrumental in creating the school construction impact team idea and then implementing it. I do see it making a huge difference across the county. So appreciate that thoughtful, constructive approach to this work. And I remember back in 2018 when we were working on coming up with a new way that we assess schools for the need for capital projects, and we came up with the Key Facility Indicator program, which was such an improvement over the old Sacred Q. But what we had anticipated and planned and been told at the time was that those KFI analyses of each school building would be done cyclically on a 2-year cycle, so that we could continuously identify issues in schools that as the schools age and evolve. And we weren't able to do that. COVID disrupted, but we're through that now, and it's really time that we reinitiate that regular routine cyclical process of KFI, key facility indicator review of all of our schools so that we can really address projects in a more timely way. And so that is it from me.
Mr. Savarna?
Again, I'll keep it quick. I wanted to pass it over to MCPS administration again, just to talk really briefly about the Woodward Auditorium and the plans for that, if they could.
The Woodward Auditorium is part of closing out this project, and it is a feature of the CIP amendment that we are putting forward. So we want to button this up and get this project done.
So just wanted to, again, bring it back for a second. I was also one of the students who testified on Woodward Auditorium over a year ago, but just wanted to bring that back again just to say it is in the CIP that we're putting forward. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Mrs. Evans?
I'll be super quick. I'm going to associate myself with the comments of all my colleagues. And you know what? I don't know where else you can live where we have parents and community members that really take time out of their schedules to be cluster reps. I was one, and it is not an easy feat. So I appreciate you all knowing so much about all of our schools and then coming and sharing that with us a few times throughout the year. So a lot has been said, and I do specifically remember Kathy when we were in the auditorium and what you said. So we're going to get it. But thank you all.
Okay. Thank you so much for your testimony. If we could get our next set of speakers to please come forward, continuing with our cluster reps, Kristen Erdheim, Lisa Setterwhite, Amy Ibaki, and then we have audio and video testimony from Narissa Johnson, Stephanie Fitz, and Susan Lifsey. Kristen, you may begin.
Dr. Taylor and members of the board, my name is Kristen Erdheim. I'm one of the cluster coordinators for the Magruder cluster and mom of 3 current MCPS students and a 22 Magruder grad. Magruder cluster is home to more than 5,300 students across 9 schools. We are a small cluster with diverse needs and home to many special programs that service students throughout MCPS. Unfortunately, due to budgeting errors and the county council not fully funding the budget, Magruder High School and Mill Creek Town Elementary School, which had both been included in the planning process for major capital improvements, have now been removed entirely from the master plan. I will now read testimony from a current Magruder student, Reka Martins. I'm here to speak about the urgent need for improvements at my school, specifically the air quality inside the school and the very dangerous conditions of our sports fields. These issues have reached a point where it's not just uncomfortable, but a threat to our health and safety. Inside the school, the temperature is always very inconsistent. In some rooms, it feels like we're sitting in a freezer, while others are really hot. It may seem like a minor inconvenience, but these drastic temperature changes all year long cause serious health problems. With poor air circulation, the chances of respiratory issues or infections go up. It's hard to focus when you're shivering in class, have goosebumps on your skin, or are sweating, and all you can think about is class being over. But that's only half the issue. Our fields where we are supposed to grow, not only as athletes but leaders, are in terrible conditions. I play lacrosse in the spring, we share half the same field with the boys, and soccer uses the exact same field during the fall. I know of schools like RM that do not have this issue of having to share. This field and our main field are uneven and full of holes, and when it rains, it becomes a swamp. It is not just uncomfortable, it is downright dangerous. Having to know which spots of the field not to run on or be careful in certain times or weather conditions shouldn't be something we have to worry about. How are we supposed to thrive as athletes when we constantly have to worry about injuries from the fields of our school? These issues are just not inconveniences. They are directly impacting our health, ability to learn, and to participate safely in extracurriculars. I've missed days of school from being sick from the air quality, and I've seen teammates sit out for games because of field-related injuries. Magruder, a school full of school spirit, deserves better. Improving these issues isn't just about comfort, but our well-being and safety. If these issues aren't addressed, we will continue to miss class, sit out games, and lose the passion we have for our school and sports. So I beg you to take action now. We need immediate repairs in our air system, and we need proper field maintenance, or better yet, a turf field like other schools in our area. Please help us make Magruder a safer environment for our students. Our health, education, and futures depend on it. Sincerely, Reka Martins. Over my last few years as cluster coordinator for Magruder, as well as North Area AVP, plans for a major renovation project at Magruder have been pushed years into the future and now are no longer included at all. All other maintenance concerns have been ignored over the past few years since Magruder had been in the prior plans for a larger renovation. If Magruder is no longer on the books for a construction project, we ask that you stop ignoring other maintenance concerns, many of which affect the safety of our students and community. In addition, the portables at Mill Creek Town that house our 3rd and 4th graders and part of the CES program are unsafe, overcrowded, and not conducive to a productive learning environment. One of our teachers in the portables, whose 14-year-old nephew was murdered in a school shooting, has severe concerns about the lack of security in these portables. Students are fearful of where to go in case of an emergency. The size of the portables does not allow for effective movement and groupings. There are no accessible bathrooms, which presents a health risk and safety risk to students. The portables are accessible by anyone, as the back of the school has no security fence and is right in front of a neighborhood. Even though the air conditioning and heating units are individually controlled, they do not work most of the time, causing more illnesses than necessary. We ask that Mill Creek Town Elementary School returns to the CIP as soon as possible with plans for an addition. We also have some maintenance and other projects at our other cluster schools, which are included in my written testimony. We understand the budget is extremely tight, and we know there just isn't enough money to fund everything that needs to be funded. As our buildings age, there will only be more maintenance and safety issues that will need to be considered. We ask that you consider other ways of funding the CIP budget as you plan for the future, and hope you can address the concerns of the Magruder cluster as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Satterwhite, you may begin.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Satterwhite, and I'm a mom to a 4th grader who attends Laytonsville Elementary School. I'm a former PTA president of Laytonsville Elementary School 22-23 and have now transitioned to the MCC PTA board as a Gaithersburg cluster co-coordinator alongside Lea Chase. I'm testifying on behalf of the current Gaithersburg High School articulation, which include Gaithersburg High School, Middle School, Forest Oak Middle School, Goshen Elementary, Rosemont Elementary, Summit Hall Elementary, Harriet Tubman Elementary, Gaithersburg Elementary, and Strawberry Knoll Elementary, Washington Grove Elementary, and lastly, Laytonsville Elementary, which also articulates to the Damascus cluster. The following is a summary of concerns and needs across our cluster. For Laytonsville, they're requesting ramps for the ADA compliance project. They host a school community-based SCB learning center with students who use wheelchairs and other adaptive equipment or accessibility devices. Emergency exits do not have ramps to allow for safe access to and from school buildings, and ramps are required to enable students and staff to navigate the nearest exit safely in case of an emergency. For Laytonsville, also under the Healthy Schools Project, requests for installation, monitoring, and timely reporting of modernized drinking water systems. Drinking water testing was completed at our schools and is part of the MCPS drinking water testing program. Results from the completed report found that 8 of the 11 schools in the Gaithersburg cluster had 1 or more water outlets producing elevated lead concentrations at or above the Maryland Department of the Environment action level of 5 parts per billion. Forest Oak Middle School had 17, which is 35% of their the total outlets tested, and Laytonsville had 11, which is 30.5% of the outlets tested with elevated lead levels. Laytonsville, in particular, has repeated findings of elevated levels of lead in their drinking water. Periodic testing and temporary solutions have not corrected the long-standing issue. All students and staff and the community require access to reliable, safe, and unlimited drinking water. It's also important to mention that the test sampling was conducted in March 2023. The report was completed in June 2023. And then the MCPS environmental team leader Brian Mulligan notification letter was dated for July 12, 23, but parents, including myself, were not notified until July 24th, 2023 via email from the school administration. While the delay in notifying the public is a separate issue, the lack of timely communication and transparency continues to be a critical issue that affects the health and well-being of our children and staff. Also with facility planning and relocatable classrooms project, Laytonsville is requesting for building additions or portable classrooms or a new build. They were built in 1951, and an addition to accommodate the growing student population was completed in 1989. And so there's anticipated community growth and increased class sizes indicate the need for the increased population capacity for grades K through 5 and the SCB programs. Also, Strawberry Knoll Elementary School, they have families that cross a large parking lot and it causes safety issues. So they're asking to consider a walkway that helps students and families cross over the parking lot. Their school security systems, their safety concerns regarding access to the playground for pre-K and their autistic students. And then lastly, Harriet Tubman Elementary School, they have safety concerns regarding exterior access to the school, and that they are already ahead of schedule in reaching capacity. They are a newer school. The location does not have adequate outdoor space for portables, so they are requesting to be considered for a boundary study. And while I understand this is an off year for the CIP, we ask that you consider addressing the ADA compliance and the school security issues sooner than later. We thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to our concerns being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Ibaki.
Good evening. My name is Amy Abakachi. I'm the Damascus High School PTSA president, and also I represent the Damascus cluster as a cluster coordinator along with Daniela Barra. And we're here tonight to ask for the board's continued support of the Damascus High School Major Capital Project, and that is the most critical need of our cluster. Damascus High School was built in 1950 and is 74 years old. It was last renovated 46 years ago in 1978 and is the oldest upper-level building in Montgomery County Public Schools. Damascus received Red Zone end-of-life ratings for interior finishes, plumbing, electrical equipment, and elevators in the MCPS 2018 School Facilities Assessment. In addition to our aging building, Damascus High School is located in a very isolated geographic area. Our students are not located in close proximity to major program offerings in the county, resulting in our students being shut out of numerous program opportunities due to transportation and travel times. This project provides an opportunity to ensure equity of program opportunities for Damascus families. And I can't underscore enough how essential it is for the school system to heed our community's input and preserve the programs our students desire. The removal of the auto tech program without community consultation was regrettable, and along with the funding challenges has led to delays in the project's planning and design. We urge the school system to reinstate the auto tech program in the major capital project and ensure that the new building's design accommodates this and other program needs of our cluster. Damascus is a small town, and our high school represents much more than physical classroom space. It is the center of our community, providing community gathering space as well as educational opportunities. Additionally, this project will provide much-needed relief to the overcrowding in the Clarksburg cluster. We were disheartened to learn that due to fiscal constraints, the County Council shifted the expenditures for DHS to the out years of the CIP, with an FY 2029 construction funds and a TBD completion date. We urge you to reprioritize this project. Another pressing need in our cluster is a major capital project for Damascus Elementary School, which was built in 1934 and is 90 years old. There have been no significant improvements since 1980, 44 years ago. Damascus Elementary School is the second oldest elementary school in Montgomery County. Please know that while we are greatly appreciative of the minor work that's been done previously at Damascus Elementary School, these fixes are temporary Band-Aids on a facility that is well beyond its lifespan. Additionally, the building has outgrown its capacity and the schools has multiple portables, and with the growing enrollment projections projected to affect both Damascus Elementary and Damascus High School, coupled with the age of these two facilities, a major capital project at Damascus Elementary School is a much-needed and cost-effective solution. Each year, we've encouraged the Board of Education to walk through Damascus Elementary School to observe the conditions our students learn in. Many students that attend Damascus Elementary School have grandparents that attended the same school, and there's been very little, if any, improvement to the learning environment. Our students deserve better. We understand that Damascus Elementary School was included as a major capital project in the CIP, and County Council approved FY25 appropriation recommendations to begin the planning and design for the project. However, construction expenditures were shifted to the out years of the CIP, with FY29 construction funds for Damascus Elementary School. We urge you to prioritize this project as early as possible. Woodfield Elementary School was built in 1962 and is 62 years old. As no significant improvements have been made since 1985, which is 39 years ago, we were pleased to see an appropriation requesting funds to conduct a feasibility study to determine the scope and cost of this project, and we're hopeful to see recommendations for this in a future CIP. Damascus serves as a vital hub for special education programs in the Upper County. To truly uphold our commitment to these students and meet MCPS's mission, it is essential that we prioritize the maintenance and improvement of the facilities within the Damascus cluster. Well-maintained facilities create accessible, safe, and engaging environments, allowing for maximum participation in every activity and offering. When our facilities meet the highest standards, they empower all students to engage in their education to the fullest. We urge MCPS to keep our important projects on track, and students in the Damascus community deserve 21st century learning environments that are safe, support student achievement, and build our community. We thank you for your continued support of the Damascus cluster and our critical facility needs. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your testimony. Our next speakers are on audio and video. Narissa Johnson, please play the audio.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and Dr. Taylor. My name is Narissa Johnson, and I am the Wheaton Cluster Coordinator and somehow still President of the PTSA at Wheaton High School. I am pleased to be here to present testimony on the capital needs of the Wheaton Cluster, as well as to support my fellow cluster coordinators as they advocate for the capital needs of all our schools here within MCPS. The Wheaton Cluster has a simple yet urgent request. Help us deal with our overcrowded schools. Admittedly, not all of our schools in the Wheaton area have reached capacity, but where it has, the situation is urgent. I know that Wheaton isn't the only area facing this problem, and I know I am not alone in making this request. Over the years, I and many others have advocated for straightforward and specific solutions to overcrowding problems at our schools. We have also requested clearer and more timely communication from Central Office about capital improvement plans, and all with little success. The longer we put off dealing with reality and delay communicating solutions, the greater the consequences. I start with Sergeant Shriver Elementary School, which is located where new housing is being built. All families that move into this development will by default send their elementary-aged children to Shriver. Meanwhile, despite the fact that the school is very much over capacity, portables have been taken away. So what's the solution for them, and what exactly is the message you are trying to convey to the community? A clear plan of action needs to be communicated immediately because a lot of families and staff members feel like they are being kept in the dark. Solutions are quote-unquote heard here and there, but concrete and formal answers to questions are rarely offered. That needs to change. For Wheaton High School, meanwhile, our request is very specific. Our enrollment at Wheaton has been rising faster than expected. Maximum capacity projections have been crushed much earlier than planned for, and there is little evidence that the reopening of Woodward High School will help ameliorate the situation. The current student enrollment at Wheaton High School is 2,780 students. Our building's capacity, meanwhile, is supposed to be 2,237 students. A quick calculation tells us that this building is well over the 20% threshold that MCPS itself uses to measure overcapacity. These are numbers that can no longer be ignored or denied. We are the third largest high school in MCPS by population. Every square inch of the building is being utilized for some purpose and often for multiple purposes. Students are taking classes in both instructional and non-instructional spaces. Student athletes, especially female athletes, have limited access to locker space for their personal items because there simply isn't any space to house these lockers in the first place. A solution to our problem is a relatively straightforward one. There is an unfinished shell located within the Thomas Edison building that could be finished, furnished, and used to help alleviate the pressure in the main building. This is such a simple solution that is practically staring us in the face and begging to be signed off on. Our community strongly urges MCPS to finish that shell so that both Wheaton High School and Thomas Edison can use that space to accommodate our growing population. In conclusion, I urge MCPS to be proactive versus reactive when it comes to planning and budgeting for capital projects. Listen to and incorporate the suggestions that are offered by the community, especially from the students, staff, and family members who are in these buildings on a daily basis. Next, it's time to rethink your approach to capital planning and budgeting. Kicking the proverbial can down the road and delaying the approval of much-needed capital improvement projects has severe repercussions. Look at where we are today. Would we be dealing with overcrowded and old, crumbling schools and HVAC systems if past planning had actually been conducted in a timely, thoughtful, and deliberate manner? Finally, please remember that all of our students and staff deserve to be in facilities that are not only safe, but that also support a positive and teaching and learning environment. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. The next speaker is Video Stephanie Fitz. Please play the video.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Fitz, and I am the Kiowa Cluster Coordinator. Tonight, I would like to highlight life safety and security concerns that urgently need remediation. To start my testimony, here is a video of the Fields Road Security Vestibule that is in need of upgrade. Hi, I'm your friendly cluster coordinator demonstrating the issues that are happening at Fields Road in their security vestibule. When we enter the school, one of the first things you'll see is that an active boys' bathroom is actually locked into the double locked area. In order to access the bathroom, students must come into the secured area. The next issue you will see is that in the flow of traffic, this school is built on a square. In order to access, if you peek through this window, you can see this is where the cafeteria is. In order to access the cafeteria, students in classrooms to this side of the square can be buzzed through. And so things will be opened and closed, creating a very unsafe flow of traffic. And this is also a very small space. What needs to happen is a rebuild so that students don't need to go through the security vestibule to enter the different parts of the school effectively. Thank you so much. Hello again. In addition to the security vestibule, Fields Road also needs its health room remodeled. The health room is severely cramped and has no way to isolate contagious students. It also does not have a sink other than the one in the small non-ADA compliant attached bathroom. If a student is using the bathroom, other students have no access to a sink for washing hands or for cleaning wounds. Moving along, Ridgeview Middle School needs to have its locks updated throughout the school to simplify staff and teacher access points. Currently, the locks are inconsistent and different keys are required to access different areas of the building. This creates a safety hazard as it takes time for staff to locate the correct keys. Next up, Rachel Carson Elementary School remains in need of safe student pedestrian walkways. The current sidewalk that goes between the school and the upper lot is dangerous, so students using this path must cross through a busy parking lot. Rachel Carson also needs a security camera installed by the Bar T entrance. This entrance currently has a swipe point and lots of traffic moves through this door. Next up, I'd like to turn to Quince Orchard High School. They remain in need of a security vestibule despite the logistical difficulty this entails. Here is a video of that vestibule. Hi, your Kiowa Cluster Coordinator here again, entering Kiowa High School. As you can see through here, it's super duper cramped when students are trying to enter the locked area. It cannot hold enough students. When we come through into the security worker area, the first thing you'll notice, there is no way to see either outside or really into the building. And it is so cramped, you can hardly fit any people in here, making for a really bad workspace. Then as you move through here and you're released to the school at large, what you will notice is you are actually released to the school at large. You cannot see the office cannot see you, and you may wander anywhere at will without anyone knowing necessarily where you are going. So we would like for this QO to have a remodeled security vestibule. Thank you. Finally, in addition to these life, safety, and security needs, I would also like to advocate for Crown High School to be fully completed, including the auditorium in Phase 1. Students deserve a school that is complete, instead of one that, despite being new, is already awaiting further construction. I urge MCPS to explore public-private partnership possibilities for finding funding for the auditorium. The auditorium is a community resource, so it makes sense to me to see if the community can help with the funding. Thank you for your attention to these concerns.
Thank you. Our final cluster testimonies from Luzon Lifesey. Please play the video.
Good evening, President Silvestri, Superintendent Taylor, and members of the Board of Education. My name is Susan Lifsey, and I'm the Winston Churchill Cluster Coordinator. Thank you for this opportunity to testify before you tonight. Many of the Churchill Cluster CIP requests this year are not new. With new leadership at the MCPS helm, with a focus on proactive and thoughtful management of the CIP, we are hopeful that our requests will finally be funded. The requests align with MCPS's commitment to increased school safety, its capital improvement priority of ADA compliance, facility planning objective to sustain and upgrade good school facility maintenance, and utilizing schools in conjunction with their capacity and programs. Funding or lack thereof should not prevent MCPS from determining and fixing what is wrong with the current system. It is imperative to be proactive and find creative solutions so more members of our school communities may benefit. It is not sustainable to continue to postpone much-needed projects from year to year when the academic achievement and the physical and mental health of our students are at risk. We appreciate Superintendent Taylor and Chief Jones's clear statements that school safety is a priority. With this in mind, we request safety and security reviews of all of our cluster schools. In the interim, our schools have identified immediate safety project requests to address security issues. Herbert Hoover Middle School requests replacement of outdated and broken security cameras. 7 out of 8 of our cluster schools request the installation of card readers for crucial exterior doors such as those adjacent to playgrounds and athletic fields. Under current conditions, once one of these doors is closed, students, teachers, and staff who are outside are locked out of the school building and are forced to walk the perimeter of the building to gain entry. This is not acceptable in a reverse evacuation situation. Bells Mill Elementary School requests the installation of a gate and fencing adjacent to the playground to prevent members of the public from having unfettered access and entering the school playground. Wayside Elementary School requests projects for ADA compliance that will aid students receiving special education services such as SCB and PEP. In addition to achieving MCPS's priority of addressing ADA compliance issues, these requests would also meet MCPS's objective of addressing the diverse needs of students receiving special education services. Wayside Elementary School requests a canopy and SCB PEP playground, which currently provides no shade from the sun, replacement of the mulch which surrounds the SCB PEP playground to a stable rubber surface, and the installation of an additional restroom for PEP students due to increased student enrollment in the program. The cluster requests align with MCPS's objective to sustain and upgrade facilities. To extend the useful life of the school, MCPS has recognized the necessity to maintain schools in good condition with high-level maintenance and the replacement of building systems such as roofs, HVAC, and systems in the PLAR program. Cabin John Middle School requests a replacement of the roof. There have been numerous problems with the roof since its installation. Over 100 ceiling tiles have been replaced due to water leakage. The obvious issues of falling ceiling tiles and water damage do not address the potential health concerns of mold exposure and poor air quality for the students, teachers, and staff. While MCPS focuses on building out high schools, these life cycle system problems remain, putting the health and security of the student, teachers, and staff at risk. Beverly Farms Elementary School requests a replacement of HVAC systems in various areas of the school. Replacement of these systems is required since repeated attempts at repair have failed to provide a permanent fix. Seven Locks Elementary School, Wayside Elementary School, and Herbert Hoover Middle School request the installation of HVAC systems in their gymnasiums, which were built without HVAC systems, in order to eliminate current overheating and poor ventilation. These life cycle replacement issues are repeatedly ignored and remain unanswered. While we acknowledge the limitations of the current system due to the lack of staff and facilities planners, there needs to be a change. Beverly Farms Elementary School requests a replacement of a brick wall in the playground, which has deteriorated to such a degree that its bricks are crumbling and falling out, causing an imminent safety risk to the students. Seven Locks Elementary School requests the current cement playground surface be replaced with a non-cement surface. which has caused students injuries in the past and continues to pose safety hazards. 7 Lux Elementary School requests a new battery-powered communication system since the current walkie-talkie system does not operate during power outages. Winston Churchill High School requests the installation of new safety lights in the auxiliary gymnasium and at the rear of the building to eliminate the current safety hazards and threats to security. Potomac Elementary School requests the build out of classroom shells which are already fitted with electricity and HVAC in order to provide sufficient space for student instruction programs. This request aligns with the MCPS's objective to meet long-term space needs and to expand schools to their maximum core capacity. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. That concludes our cluster testimony. We will now move on to our individuals. I've asked them to come forward. Sarah Nathan, Melissa McKenna, Adam Van Grack, and John Schum. Sarah Nathan here? No? Okay. Melissa McKenna?
Good evening. My name is Melissa McKenna, and it's time to finish the fight. Dr. Taylor, I'm here specifically to address you in particular. If Diego Uruburu of Identity has confidence in you, so do I. 11 years ago, I brought these boxing gloves, I see Shebra smiling, to fight the good fight for our schools. At the time, I came from Maryvale Elementary and Carl Sandburg Learning Center, buildings that were woefully inadequate for the students they served. CIP advocacy became my calling, and I've been here ever since. Only build complete schools. Former BOE President Pat O'Neill was afraid of phased construction for Woodward, having served through years of constructing gyms and auditoriums well after opening. Please, please construct complete schools from the beginning for Woodward and Crown, no matter what it takes. Only design and build net zero energy NZE schools. They generate their own energy and heat, saving millions of dollars annually, with the bonus that the school becomes itself a learning tool. The cream on top of this win-win is the 5 percentage point increase in state funding. Wouldn't you like to save at least $476,000 a year in electricity at one high school every year? $9.5 million over 20 years? That's my best estimate from incomplete CERT data on Gaithersburg High School. Above all, finish what you start first. Stage construction risks cost increases, jeopardizing the school's own completion and exacerbating the delay to any project in the pipeline behind it. I pushed MCPS and the County Council for years to make sure Crown High School was in the CIP and remained on schedule. The developer graciously granted us 32 free acres, and we couldn't lose that. As school construction evolved, I advocated for building NZE schools. That was my vision for Crown. I've argued every angle, but nothing stuck. Having attended the virtual design meetings for both Woodward and Crown, I can report that neither included even solar in the preliminary design. So you'll understand my surprise when I read the October 1st OLO report on school construction costs and learned that Crown will be net zero ready. Well, slapping solar on top of a building that's completed in the traditional method isn't exactly net zero ready. It's not that simple. Including renewable energy in building design starts way before the actual architectural design. So I ask, what's changed? I doubt anything. What can be done to ensure Crown will be built to the exacting net zero energy standards required with renewable energy operation upon opening? And are there additional costs to come? If so, include them now. I've gone to Annapolis and brought back over $169 million for MCPS school construction. I'm heavily invested in how it spends its money. My hope is that the building better will rest with you, and I look forward to meeting with you and making it happen in Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Van Grack, may I begin?
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Taylor, and staff. My name is Adam Van Grack, and while I'm currently a City of Rockville council member, my testimony here today is that of an individual graduate of MCPS schools and a parent of an MCPS student currently attending Wooten High School to expand on Mayor Monique Ashton's testimony. I actually grew up just a few blocks away from Wooten High School beginning in 1976, just 6 years after it opened on South Falls Mead Way, and I regularly walked to Wooten football games as a child in elementary school. Wooten, which opened in 1970, has never had a significant renovation. Now, it's true that in 1998, the Board of Education did approve some cosmetic designs. Slightly expanded parking lot in the front and a cosmetic design in the facade that was ultimately approved in 2000. Now, at that time, there was a request for additional renovation to the interior. None of those occurred. Then, as you may recall, in the FY 2016 budget, there was an appropriation to approve for planning of funds to begin the architectural design for the revitalization expansion project of Wooten High School. And then in the FY 2017 budget, it was noted that the revitalization expansion project that was slated to be completed in August of 2021. Then, later, in the capital improvement plans, the revitalization expansive project for Wooten High School moved back and was then slated to be completed by August of 2029. Now, incredulously, over 3 years past the original anticipated completion of the Wooten High School renovations, all planning and construction funds have been removed, and the August 2029 construction completion removed from the adopted CIP. Now, you notice there weren't many Wooten High School students here, and you didn't hear from Wootens, because they have been complaining, and unfortunately this board haven't been listening. This situation is completely unacceptable. Students regularly complain, not just to you, and not just coming as they did last year, but to us as their elected officials. Students have in fact created, and it's been brought to your attention, multiple Instagram accounts documenting the problems of Wooten High School. Instagrams, the first one of which was created in 2021, when the completed renovations in FY 2016 were supposed to have been completed. It's falling on deaf ears. The pictures in these Instagram accounts are incredulous. Toilets that have been ripped off their bases, leaks in the ceilings, exposed wires. Something needs to happen. Unfortunately, these cries for help are being ignored. I strongly implore you to add the Wooten High School renovations project back to the FY 2025-30 CIP and expedite it immediately to address the substandard building conditions.
Thank you. John Schum, you may begin.
I would like to thank the board for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. First, I want to briefly introduce myself. I'm proud of MCPS and graduated from Richmond Montgomery in 2004. In 2005, Richmond Montgomery was ranked number 11 in the U.S. To me, MCPS represents being the best of the best. On page 1-11 of the CIP plan, the school safety budget is reduced beginning FY 2027 and onward. With ever-increasing physical and digital threats, the amount spent to protect the safety of students should not be decreasing. On the bottom of page 1-11, there's a footnote stating that there's a shortfall of $39.3 million for the Charles Woodward project. What this footnote doesn't clarify, but has been reported on various news outlets, is that this $39.3 million hole was due to human error by MCPS. $39.3 million is an extremely material amount. The key personnel related to the error are now gone. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. But was the error due to inexperience? Did someone recognize the issue but had no way to contact the board directly? In July, the IG found wasteful spending by MCPS for an electric bus contract that now amounts to $1.5 million. Let's also not forget the $300,000 settlement related to sexual harassment lawsuit. This isn't some backwater school district with such problems. This is MCPS. What kind of impression are we giving the county council? The $39.3 million error for the Charles Woodward project isn't just a problem for the students in the downtown consortium area. It affects all students and educators across MCPS. We might recall that the county council gave MCPS $30.5 million less than what was requested for FY 2026. And council member Andrew Freisen said the $30.5 million cut was a management issue. Educators and parents are still asking the council to approve the remaining $30.5 million. I believe that MCPS needs not only that $30.5 million, but even more to be the best of the best. But after this costly mistake, I can only wonder what county council members are going to think for FY 2026 and beyond. The tone is set at the top. And MCPS educators and students deserve the best support from their school system. And I hope the board sees to it that no further embarrassment affects MCPS again. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That concludes our speakers for tonight. I ask if my board members have any questions or comments to conclude us tonight. Ms. Yang.
Yeah, I have two questions. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming in. My question, one of it is about communication to families. So when we have a report, what can we expect? What usually is the procedure or timeline to communicate? For example, tonight was mentioned about the drinking water quality and safety. What kind of timeline can families expect?
Yeah, so a lot of that is set by statute. So it's very troubling to hear when something is not followed by statute. So we absolutely have to follow up on something like that because it has to be immediate.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I have another question about, we heard about broken camera tonight. I know that is one of our top priority. So what is I know we have staff shortages for maintenance. I do know that we cannot hire quick enough to fill all these vacancies. 50 of them I heard. But however, when a school camera is broken, what is our expectation?
Well, our expectation is, one, we have to identify funding to replace it. And once we've identified funding, then we would deploy a team to do a replacement or a repair, and that's just like the work order process. Okay. So and this is something that the board actually has identified as a priority this year. We did have money in the CIP that was committed to camera replacement, and it's an ongoing process. I will say, typically it's not immediate. It's not a camera breaks on Monday and then Tuesday it's replaced. It typically does take some time to make sure that we're getting a camera that is also congruent with the system that's being used, and that it is communicating with the other cameras on the system at that particular school, and some of them are generationally applied. So making sure that we've got that equipment correct and installed correctly is part of that process. So
the reason I ask is I try to understand, do we need a vendor to do it or can we do it? It sounds like our system.
It depends.
Okay.
It largely depends. It depends on the type of camera and the system that it's being connected to, and whether or not that's within our capabilities or something that has to be done by an outside party.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing, I think there are those card reader, which is identified priority of the board, right, from the playground access card reader. So I hope that can be done timely. A lot of our elementary school have this problem of the kids' playground. They cannot enter the building, have to go around to the other side of the building. Bell's Mill was mentioned. That is an issue. And I want to, again, thank everyone for their testimony. I want to thank Mr. Bangura giving us a history update about how Wootton High School's plan has been delayed and kicked off. Thank you.
Okay. Well, seeing no other lights on, I want to thank everyone for your testimony tonight. We are back here on Wednesday, same time, same station. So for now, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here.